want war. Crime babies looking for food, starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day and every clue. Don't let it go, it's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 rows to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the brink. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather, I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double, but nature gets the shit in a way to settle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TV's whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't steer. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war.
Check. All right. Yeah. What's up? Good morning. Good evening. Good night, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. We made it. We survived to another day. Yay! We are still alive. We still alive. Yo, what's up? We still alive. And, hey, you have to celebrate being alive because, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that, actually don't really think that this situation is funny, but and I don't think the situation is funny at all. But I mean, we got to take our good moments while we have them. You got to take them, and because you don't know if it's going to be good moments tomorrow. And I would tell people, prepare for the moment to not be good at all tomorrow, like for real. Because listen. This dude Donald J. Trump and his cronies, his administration, they have committed fucking crimes, and they have put people's lives in danger. I mean, he already walked into the house with, having already committed crimes, right? Then they stalled off trials and they stopped him. Then they said he can't be, all these shenanigans about criminality that puts the United States and its citizens in danger. That is what this whole Donald Trump campaign is. It's a campaign to damage, kick in the door of the Capitol, shit on the floor, threaten to kill the vice president, threaten to kill congressional leaders. I mean, this is real. This is not a joke. And it's never been a joke. And one thing that these MAGA people have been able to do is laugh it off in front of everybody. Ha ha ha! Gaslight everybody like it's all a joke. People die. It's all a joke. They don't care. And the only time they tend to care is when someone that is attacking the White House violently, threatening to kill people, gets shot by the police. You know what I'm saying? That's all of a sudden the time when they care. Then all of a sudden they have feelings about life and, fairness and la la la. You know what I mean? Only when they on the attack and somebody shoots their ass, then they care. You see what I mean? And they are always on the attack. Don't ever forget this. Trump sent ICE to Minnesota. He sent them to Minneapolis. He's the one who sent them there. That was a directive of Trump to go to a place he is not from, does not live, and fuck with people. Send a whole bunch of people that don't come from that state to go there and fuck with the local people. Right then and there, it says you're looking for trouble. That's what that means. You're going out of your way, right? And you're using the same tax dollars that these people paid you. People in Minnesota, they pay federal taxes. They pay the salary of ICE. And this is what they get. Same with Portland, Oregon. This is what they get. Same with all the cities, the blue states. I mean, we know what it is. And Trump has made it painfully obvious. This is about attacking blue states. This is about attacking blue states. And this is about demeaning blue states. Because why? Because we are diverse. Is that why? Are you jealous of us? I mean, we're Americans. Are you jealous of us or something? Are you jealous that we live like on the old, the original part of the United States? I think that might be part of it. I think there might be a little jealousy. The old country, like where the shit kicked off, the United States, where the United States was born. Is that part of it? Listen, there's loads of people that come from the United States of America. We have natives. I lived in a neighborhood called, I grew up on the Hill, by the way, for people that don't know, Capitol Hill. I grew up on Capitol Hill, right? Capitol Hill East also, right? And also Anacostia, those two neighborhoods. Capitol Hill and Anacostia. One is east of the river. Anacostia is like a historic district for east of the river, right? And Capitol Hill, most people know Capitol Hill. It's not east of the river. It's just next to just east of the Capitol building, right? The homes and neighborhood that's right there, east of the Capitol building. And it doesn't matter if you're on the northeast or southeast side. It's pretty much it's the same neighborhood. It's split by East Capitol Street that runs directly into the Capitol. Now, but Anacostia is named after Native Americans that lived there. You see what I mean? That lived right there on that river, on the Anacostia River. Now, when we think about the different people that lived there, listen, the house I grew up in Anacostia, I swear to God, I know it's a historic house. It's a historic house for that part of town. So it's an old house, and I'm pretty sure it was there in the slavery times, like straight up. Like that's the kind of house I grew up in, a historic home in Anacostia, right? And so I know the history right around the corner from Frederick Douglass's home. You know what I'm saying? Like Frederick Douglass, you know that? As a kid, I used to go up there with my friends, and take the snow sleds in the wintertime and ride right down the Frederick Douglass Holmes Hill. They had a big hill, and all the kids from the neighborhood in the wintertime, we used to go there with our sleds and ride down Frederick Douglass's hill. So, I'm saying all of this to say that we take our American history and our American culture and our American story serious. We actually take it serious. We don't take it for a joke. We don't. No. We take it actually serious in Washington, D.C., in case a lot of people don't fucking know. You know what I'm saying? Like, we actually do. And those of us that have some sense, and there's plenty of us that have some sense. You see what I mean? Now, but it's not just D.C. It's all over the East Coast. We have families. We have stories from many different backgrounds. Many different backgrounds. And the East Coast has been like that the entire time. Since the beginning of the country, the East Coast has been a landing spot for people from all over the world. You see what I mean? Directly. It could be the first place you step foot in the country, especially if your family migrated to the U.S. before we had airplanes, especially from Africa, from Europe, and other other places. West Coast, that's a whole different history damn near. That's how big the U.S. is, and that's how big the American continent is, right? So there's different histories, right? But the United States of America started on the East Coast and then progressed west, right? So having said all that, when I see these kind of things going on, I know that it's a real threat to the country. I know enough about the history. I know enough about the Constitution, know enough about the law, right, to know what a threat is to the nation. You see what I mean? And so when I say Donald Trump's whole cabinet is just a bunch of criminals, brought to destroy the country, like literally, they may not say it's destroy the country, but what they mean is destroy certain Americans in it. Destroy certain Americans in it. Belittle certain types of Americans in it. Real life Americans. I mean, my family goes back to the colonial period on both sides. So I'm not ashamed of that at all. And I really hate, I don't care about immigrants. I grew up in Washington, D.C., the capital. What the fuck is an immigrant? Immigrant is just another word to me. You see what I mean? It's just a word. That's all it means. There's plenty of people that I grew up with that their families migrated to the country and maybe they were born there in the U.S. It's the capital, right? But, when I hear this word immigrant, to me, it's just a word. I see human beings. I see other Americans. That's what I see, right? But what's crazy is that we have this element of people that like to talk about immigrants like they're not immigrants, like they don't have immigrant background. And this is the strange part about it, because Donald Trump has immigrant background. He's just like a third generation American. His grandparents came to the U.S. That's what Donald Trump is. Okay. I don't know how many of you have grandparents, but most of you, a lot of us remember our grandparents when they were alive. You see what I'm saying? And this is Donald Trump's story. So you mean within your lifetime, you knew the first immigrant in your family? That's Donald Trump. That's not my goddamn story. My story, my grandmother and grandparents are not the first ones in the goddamn country. My family goes back to so many, we don't even know the first name. It's that many. You see what I mean? It is that many. It's that many generations. You see what I'm saying? And but we do know what waves, we do know what time period and things like that. But damn, and this dude Trump is like, he's leading the war against all of the immigrants. He's leading the war against the immigrants and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, then he has plenty of people in his cabinet. They're immigrants too, and they're even been in the country less, and they leading the war against immigrants. So I'm saying all of this to say that it is serious, right? It is serious. It's very, very serious. It's deadly serious. But these people are also a motherfucking joke. I don't want anybody that's out there witnessing goddamn Donald Trump shit, right, to think that he is or his cabinet are real representations of what American is. They are not. And you know how I know? I'm just going to say this because you have to say it like this. Because I'm from the fucking capital of the United States of America and I know my fucking American history. Okay, that's why. Okay, I grew up around the corner. I grew up swinging on the motherfucking flagpole at the Library of Congress. Okay, that's how I know. I grew up playing in the goddamn Smithsonian museums. Okay, that's where I would go down and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? Sometimes you have to boss up on these people. Like, really. Sometimes you have to boss up on these people, really, because they will have you thinking that that they're the real Americans and shit. Man, they are nothing but some dumb ass bigots. That's what they are. They are dumb ass bigots that got used by a foreign country to attack the United States of America, and they think they would get away with it. They think they would get away with it. That's what they really think. That's how dumb they are. They would actually think that. Just like they're so dumb, they would make a culture war about immigrants when they're fucking immigrants, most of them also. Look at this. How could you, but this is what it is, and it's not just them. Think about all the people that voted for Trump, that after he got in office, he just turned on them and started kicking ass out of the country. All the immigrants that were like, I'm a good immigrant. He doesn't mean me. He doesn't mean me. This is the bizarre shit about MAGA. It is. And that shows you it's something in the brain, some sort of inferiority complex in the brain. You know, they have to overcompensate for their Americanness. You see what I mean? They have to overcompensate for their Americanness. Yo, that shit's crazy, man. And that's what they're fucking doing. That is what they're doing. I'm telling you, that is what they're doing. That is what they're doing. You know, yeah, exactly. Washington, D.C. The first school I went to in my life, I had to walk to. I was like 7 years old. I had to walk to it. I went to private homeschooling before I was 7. So I didn't go to kindergarten really, right? But the first school I went to is 4 blocks away from the Capitol. You see what I'm saying? Like, so I'm literally from Capitol Hill. You know, everybody that's born in my generation knows me from Capitol Hill. We all know each other to this day. Everybody, we all know each other to this day, right? So, I mean, most of us are very proud Americans, you know, very, very proud Americans, except we don't, you know, a lot of the people moved to DC, and I'm talking about different background people, German, Swedish, ancestry. I'm talking about multiple generation people, different generation, Jewish, just different. So many types you may not really know unless you ask, right? Second, third generation immigrants, right? Growing up in DC. But the ones that grew up in DC, not only a lot of African Americans, you know, like many, right? But here's the thing, you know, growing up in that place, you know, you have a mixture of people that came to DC. You know, a lot of these people came to DC in the civil rights era. So a lot of them are either activists, lawyers that worked with activists. You know, the whole city was pretty much a lot of activism in DC. It was a center for activism. So DC is a really progressive American town. You know, it's really a progressive American town and a city, although it's gotten more expensive and then they kick people out and all of that shit. But I'm saying all of this to just say there's loads of people like myself, you know, that know damn well what it is to be an American. I mean, I would really, you know, sometimes when you meet other Americans that maybe their families go back to all this time, sometimes, you know, when I listen to them and I just think like, damn, you don't even know anything about the country you grew up in. You know, you think the country is something totally different than what it is. You know what I mean? And I think maybe that's because some people get isolated, and it depends on what avenue of information you're getting, your facts from, who you get it from, what circle you live in, and all of this stuff, But having said that, these people have a lot of pride in ignorance, and that shit is going to be on full display until people take it out. And right now, it's the time to impeach this motherfucker, Donald J. Trump. Like, impeach all of them. Like, why wait? Why even wait? Because they've shown people enough nonsense. They have shown their true intentions. Number one, they literally think that they want to pick on liberals. They really think that was a good idea. They really think that was a plan that could work. They really think that plan's going somewhere. Just picking on liberals. And they totally did that. They baited their audience. Donald Trump knows how to bait these people, these ignorant ass people, because while he baited them with that, he robbed them with everything else. He robbed their future. He has robbed. You see what I mean? Just by baiting them with their bigotry. And here's the proof of the pudding. Donald J. Trump is from an immigrant family himself. You see what I mean? But he waged a culture war based on immigration, and these motherfuckers don't even care. Look at half of the people in his cabinet. Again, it's ridiculous. His wife is a fucking immigrant. Excuse me that I said fucking, but she is. She's an immigrant herself. How many of his wives were immigrants? This man doesn't know how to marry an American wife. Not that an American woman would want to marry his ass, actually, but does he? Does he have one wife that's from the U.S.? You know what I'm saying? Like, and these people still voted for his ass, and I'm not saying that you can't marry whoever you want. You should. That's the whole point in being a liberal. I believe that you marry, you do what you want to do. That's your thing. You know what I'm saying? And, but Donald Trump ran his whole campaign on fuck immigrants. You see what I mean? So it's like, 2 out of 3. That's what. Okay, there you go. And but yeah, hey, right. I guess the odds work that way. At least 1 out of 3, maybe. Right? That's just luck. That was luck for him, right? But everything about their campaign is phony, stupid, ignorant. They want to, and here's some more proof. He wants to talk, he wants to literally tell people that he wants to buy Greenland. He literally wants to buy human beings. He proposes buying human beings or taking a place with physical violence that human beings already own and is their ancestral land. You see, this is what he's proposing today. He thinks he can own it. He thinks the U.S. can just take a country and own it. That's what he tried to take the whole world through. That's what he took his congressional members through. That's what he took his senators through, the Republican senators through. That's what he took NATO through, our allies through. That's what he took the American public through. This is what the American public pays taxes for this dipshit with nothing but kooky, fucking unrealistic ideas. He wages a war against immigrants. And at the same time, in the United States of America, you don't have universal health care. Health care is the most expensive on earth. The U.S. health care covers least amount of people as possible, just so they can make $1 billion, $1 trillion off of it, right? So it's already a scam. You buy it. You may not even need it. You pay for it for months, for years, and then all of a sudden you lose your job, and one day you might need it, and they don't give you no health care. That's how the American healthcare system works. You could pay into it for as long as you want. All of a sudden, it could be totally worthless. Or you could pay into it as long as you want and get sick, and then they tell you, we don't cover that. So it's a scam. At the same time, they have the healthcare scam, right, going on. Instead of just covering all American citizens from the jump, instead of doing that like normal fucking people do, right? Normal people, right? You can get your emergency care. Anybody can get your emergency care. But the rest of the package, the long term, they could do it like most people and make sure that in our tax system we have that. It would cost less money if we did that. But while they don't want to do that, At the same time, you have these bozos running around talking about, you won't replace us. You won't replace us. You won't replace us. And they don't get the correlation. This is how stupid they are. They don't get the correlation. Look, you stupid bitches. You think someone's trying to replace you. You're killing your fucking selves off because you vote for people that don't even want you to fucking have a doctor when you get sick. Stupid fucks. You're dying off because your plan is suicide in the first motherfucking place. You see what I mean? Like, what the fuck? You think is somebody trying to replace you? Man, you're voting for you're voting to have no health care. You're literally voting. You're literally voting so your mama, your sister, your daughter, your brother, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, your niece, none of you can afford health care. So what age are you going to die at? You talking about, you won't replace us. You won't replace us. Right? This is what they're doing. This is literally what they're doing. Then they have this thing about immigration, right? So, okay, listen, I don't know. These people don't do the math. But every Western country needs immigration. They don't realize this, though, in the United States of America. These motherfuckers don't realize that. So listen, going back to the you won't replace us. If you don't want to be replaced, then why don't you vote for politicians that will let your ass get a motherfucking education and not be in debt the rest of your life? Don't you think that'll help not being replaced? Don't you think it will help not being replaced? Yeah. It would help. Universal education for American citizens would help American citizens get a fucking education and compete in the job market, okay? Compete in new tech, compete in real jobs, trade jobs. You could have technical school, universities, all of that shit. But like normal people do. But these motherfuckers, they don't want it. So they don't want to compete in the job market against everyone else that has it. They don't want to compete in the health market against everyone else that has it. And they running around talking about, you won't replace us. You won't replace us. This is what we've had to witness. This is what we had to complete utter bozos. Complete utter bozos. Everything they do is against their best interest. And they hate everyone else that tries to tell them what to do in the collective good for Americans. If you want to preserve American culture, why don't you preserve some motherfucking American families while you have the goddamn chance and stop being a bigot? You see, it's amazing. It is amazing. You don't want immigrants coming. Well, then goddamn take care of the fucking Americans with the tax dollars. Stop begging for motherfucking tax dollars if you're not going to use it to benefit the people's lives that are paying it in the first fucking place. What is the point? You see, and this is what we got in Donald Trump. So instead of getting a United States of America that went forward like Europe, we got a United States of America that went backwards and wants to challenge Europe. They want to challenge Europe, but they still haven't figured it out yet. You know what I mean? Let me tell you something. The U.S., I don't know if you can see this. The U.S. economy is like this. It goes straight up. It's high. It goes very high. It goes very, very high, but it's very, very thin. It doesn't spread out. It doesn't cover. It doesn't circulate around the masses. It's very thin. And the mass of the people is all the way out here. But it doesn't hit it. It's very high, but it doesn't spread. The EU's economy, it's the second biggest economy on earth. So that's pretty high, but it spreads. It is wide. It touches the European people. It goes through their hands so they can feel some of it on the way while the economy is going up. And actually, it crumbles, is better at not crumbling than the U.S. economy because it's wide. You see, that tall, thin shit economy like that's up higher than everybody else's but doesn't spread, that crumbles real fucking fast. That really can't take too many hits, and you're seeing it right now. It is designed to not take many hits. You see what I mean? That's how it's designed. The EU economy is actually designed to take more hits. more diverse energy. What's up with that? Infrastructure. What's up with that? You see what I mean? Like, all you got to do is start a motherfucking oil war, and that's going to set the U.S. in shambles. You see what I mean? Just because it has to, oh shit, now all of a sudden oil, we got to pump more oil. We got to do all this shit with oil. Man, listen, it's all fake. Everything Trump has been doing has either been foul or been a lie. Even this little hoax with Greenland, you could see. Now, we have to celebrate this. Congratulations, Denmark. Congratulations, Denmark. Congratulations, NATO. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Trump with his big mouth, J.D. Vance with their big mouth, Mark Rubio with their big mouth, and their arrogant egos. I'm going to tell you what happened. The truth of the matter is that they got broken down nicely. They got broken down nicely because you can't beat the math. It doesn't matter what you selling to your own people. They can talk all the shit they want to Americans. Americans can eat that shit up all they fucking want. That doesn't mean it's real. It doesn't mean it's going to work. You see, you can't talk your way into motherfucking Greenland. Bitch, you got to bring it on for real. That's what you got to do. You can't just sit up there and be like, we think. And Donald Trump said it once. He said it twice. He said it 3 times. He said it 4 times. And basically now they take it. They said, you know what? We're going to have to actually deal with this crazy motherfucker. Like, this dude has lost his motherfucking mind. So we're actually going to have to beef up on his ass. And that's exactly what they're doing now. Because listen, if the American people don't want to put Donald Trump in check, somebody else will. And you can be the bitch for Donald J. Trump. Because even little ass Denmark is telling this motherfucker, we shooting first. Okay, you try to invade Greenland, we will shoot first. That's their message out right now. Now, whose message is that in the U.S.? Whose message is that? Or is your message, let him take my tax money, let him fuck me over, let him take my grandmother's health care, let him do whatever he wants, let him just... That's actually what a lot of Americans are doing with Donald J. Trump. Thank you, God, that I live in a nation that stood up against Donald bitch ass Trump. Thank you. Thank you. Because I know it can be done. You know what I'm saying? And it can be done with smaller nations. Smaller nations can actually stand up against this bitch. And American citizens, you need to stand up against this motherfucker also, because he is taking the United States on a ride. Like, straight up. He's taking the U.S. on a ride, and it is having deadly consequences on American citizens. Sure, he blew up a couple of Nigerians, maybe not a couple, maybe 12, maybe 20, maybe 100. He blew up about 100 Venezuelans, and he's blowing up Americans, shooting them in the country. But look, the NATO said, that shit stop with us, homeboy. You ain't blowing us up. If you want to blow up your own people, sorry, we can't really do anything about that. Sorry, we would like to, but that's difficult for us. But you want to blow our ass up, we gonna have some shit back for you. And that's exactly what you found out they did, because nobody is buying this shit in the EU. Nobody's buying it. You see what I mean? Nobody's buying it. They know pretty much that Trump is linked with Putin. So they see the play. They know what the play is to try to split up Denmark, but try to make the countries have to focus on Greenland and Ukraine at the same time. But you know what? They said, you know what? Since this is a situation, we don't know what's up with this kooky motherfucker. It is a democracy. It's sunk under Trump, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. So I hope that people just say, listen, why are we wasting time? We're trying to pass laws and hope that Trump signs them. We're trying to do, literally right now, the Congress people, Congress, there were 17 Republicans that joined all the rest of the Democrats on the health care bill that just got passed through Congress. Like what, a day ago, 24 hours ago, maybe not even that, maybe 12 hours ago, right? But and now it's got to go to the Senate, right? and see if the Senate passes it. And Senate is the extension for 3 years for the healthcare credits, the same ones that people had originally. But if it passes the Senate, which is likely to, Donald Trump has to sign it. But who wants to waste that time? Who wants to really waste that time to find out if he's going to sign it? I mean, I think maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, because if you get a new president, if you get J.D. Vance after you impeach him, I'm saying impeach all these motherfuckers. Like, really, impeachment has to be on the agenda. But maybe they want to wait to let him sign it and then impeach. Maybe that might make a little bit more sense. But there's so many things going down. The Voting Rights Act is coming up. People don't know. It looks like time is going to go by, and it will be not enough time for the Supreme Court to really visit that, right? But you still never know. But that's not even the point. The point is, the American people pay for all of this bullshit. Why should people have to pay for this bullshit? Everyone knew it was bullshit from the jump. These people are so unserious. They're literally wasting people's time. They're literally playing around like their life is like American citizens' lives are a fucking joke. And I want to tell everybody out here, it's only 1/3 of the population. Somebody wrote, step on my neck, Orange Ridge Daddy. But listen, it's only 1/3 of the population that voted for Donald J. Trump. So please, Americans are trying to repair whatever damage has happened to their image. You know what I'm saying? And I'm doing the best I can do in my podcast. But the facts are, no matter what you think, the facts are only 1/3 of the United States people actually voted for Trump. Another third didn't vote for anybody, and 1/3 basically 1/3 voted for Kamala Harris, maybe a little less, right? That's why Trump won. So 1/3 of the population didn't vote at all. So that's really why Trump won. That's really what it is. And somehow he was able to pull it off. Maybe he got some computer help. Maybe he got some, he definitely bought off people, and he definitely cheated. He lied. He's a lying motherfucker. And a lot of people believed him, I bet, and those people will never believe his ass again. But the point is that there's so much going on, and these are serious times. To have a president that would use the tax dollars of the United States people and just put them in, first of all, give Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, these two motherfuckers with 3 citizenships, billions of dollars of tax write-offs. Then they would let Elon Musk just walk right up into our government and just with a bunch of hackers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry. This group of people have insulted the United States of America, and they have insulted, even worse, the people of the United States of America. And listen, the people of the United States of America, if we let this motherfucker walk away without learning a lesson, learning that you cannot do what you did and without punishment, serious consequences, what's stopping somebody else from doing it again? If you don't deal with Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and all these people that plotted together, all of them together, if we don't deal with them, who's to stop the next one? How will you stop anyone else from doing the same thing? See? That's the problem now. That's the problem. So they have really weaved a web for themselves, because on one hand, if we want to have a country after them, it really does depend on us actually, on them, finding out what justice is for real. Punishments. Like, and for me, I'm just like, the entire world, anybody that respects the Western world, you should never buy anything from Elon Musk again. Don't ever give him any contracts. Peter Thiel, you see what they're doing, right? They want to have a monopoly on people's private information and things like this. Like, seriously, the Western world has to put their foot down. And I want to big up Europe for putting their foot down first on these people, for putting their foot down first. Europe saw it. They saw the threat, and they did something. They didn't wait. But goddamn, us in the U.S., man, I don't know what it is about us. We must think we're too big to fail. We must think we're too big to to not be able to just get up no matter what. But listen, the things that these people are up to are things that you do when you want to put people in slavery. And so in my mind, that's a damn crime. In my mind, there's a lot of cleaning up to do. In my mind, I think Americans need to look at their allies and say, why do their allies have universal health care and universal education and we don't? And get busy to providing that shit. Because right now, nothing is making sense in the United States of America. And people in a democracy, in a healthy democracy, should never be anywhere close to having any fools like Donald J. Trump, Elon Musk, and all of these up in our government like this. They mean us harm. They mean us no good. They mean the American people no fucking good. They have weaponized the government against a political group in the United States of America. They have weaponized the government against just a loosely knitted, they call people liberals or Dems or whatever, blue or whatever. How do you go after a whole political, you could say it's like a cultural group. How do you go after a group for just being people that are being themselves and surviving? How do you hate that? But they literally hate it. They really hate it. And you see what they're doing. The whole world sees how these people hate fucking Democrats and they hate fucking liberals. And that is embarrassing because liberal means free. Nobody should have a problem with that. Liberal means free. Yeah, Trump wants American people to work longer hours. Exactly. What the fuck? They already work longer hours than anybody else in the West. And he wants people to work longer hours and get paid. They want to enslave people. They want everyone to be a fucking sharecropper. And these MAGA people, they bought it up hook, line, and sinker. When really the truth is that they're going to be sharecroppers. You see what I mean? They're just down here on the bottom. And they just thought that, they could play this game. I'm not an immigrant, or I have the right. I'm a conservative. He's not coming for me. No, Trump has come for everybody that has voted for him. And if you still supporting his ass right now, you're stupid. But in any case, let's show you how the game is played and how if you listen to Trump, you get nowhere. You have to have integrity in this world to get somewhere. And if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. And everybody's not falling for the shit some of these Americans are falling for at all. And here's how it looks. Trump started off threatening, right? He started off threatening Denmark, saying he want the land. He want it. Do you know what happened? The Senate invited this is so funny. They invited the ambassador of Greenland and Denmark to speak in the Senate. And Trump is like, oh shit, what the fuck? You better believe it. And the senators and the Republican senators have been coming out against Trump. And they've been calling him a fool, calling Stephen Miller a goddamn idiot, calling Trump a delusional weirdo. You know what I'm saying? President, yes, they're coming out against him. And you know what Trump did because he's embarrassed by that? Now he wants to meet. Now, all this time, he's never really called them to meet. He's never called them to meet. He didn't call them. Now he wants to call them to meet. Before he just want to talk shit over social media, talk shit in the newspapers. I think we're going to have Mark Rubio come out there every day talking about, making excuses about why they're being vague about threats of physical violence. Like everyone don't know that he's threatening violence. When you say all options are on the table, even military force, that means you threatening violence. You just threaten to use violence against your number one ally. You just threatened to use violence against your number one ally. Let me tell you something. That was a gigantic mistake, because this ally, they have pride in who they are. Denmark, they have pride in who they are. You see, and they never thought they would see the day where anything like this would even, no president would be so absurd as Trump was. They have backed up the U.S. in so much, in deeper ways than most Americans even know. Denmark is tied a lot to the U.S. through mortgages. A lot of Danish companies, pension plans here have mortgages that they invest in U.S. programs and businesses and things like that. Yeah, Trump fucked all that shit up. Trump has fucked it all up. You see what I mean? Like, but there's a lot of other reasons, ways that Denmark and the U.S. are tied together. So they can't, no one would ever expect that, because it's loony. It's loony what Trump did. But you know what they said? They said, yo, if you really want it, if this is how you really want it, then of course, if we take this from you, we're going to be taking it from other people. So fuck it. That's what they did. They drew the line because they know how the game is played. And I hope American citizens realize that if you take this shit from Trump, he's going to do it again to you. He is going to do it again to you. I bet you he won't do this shit to Denmark again. Watch this. I bet you he won't.
Greenland's capital Thursday, with the island's population still in the dark about its future. Polls suggest most are against a US takeover, with significant support for full independence from Denmark too.
I don't know why the Danes keep getting offended by something that is said in the US, because it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with the Greenlandic people.
Listen, this is interesting, because you could say that it has nothing to do with Denmark, but that's not what they say. That's not what so the Greenlanders aren't saying that. They're saying, no, we don't want to be. They already have an agreement. So it's no point in even having to restate it. It's already in writing. They have a relationship with Denmark, period. That's why they have a relationship with Denmark, period. They've had a history with Denmark. It's damn near since the year 900. That's a long fucking time. Danes were coming to Greenland before they were even Christianized, So this is a long relationship, and it started back with the Vikings. But here's the thing. Anybody can say anything about this. The whole world can say whatever they want about it, because this motherfucker Donald Trump wants to buy the country, meaning buy the people. When you own the land, then you own the people too, right? So the bottom line is that the people already told you no. So Greenland has a security deal already set up with Denmark. So why don't you accept no? Why don't you accept no from the Greenlandic people? They already told you. See, so that's the trick of what he's saying. He's like, it has nothing to do with it. Well, I tell you what. When a guy goes up to a woman and says, "Hey girl, can I go out with you? Can we hang out? Hey, you really look beautiful." And the girl tells you no. And then you go back again, the same guy, and says, "Hey girl, I'm at work. They at work. You beautiful girl, you beautiful." Or wherever they are, "You beautiful. Can I hang out with you, please, please, please?" And the girl says no again. Guy comes back again, says the same thing. This is harassment. The girl goes and gets her big brother and says, "Yo, you better leave my motherfucking sister alone. We're tired of this, but are you out your motherfucking mind?" You see what I mean? So the Greenlandic people don't have to say no more than once. After that, it's fucking harassment. And that's exactly what Donald Trump has been doing. And he's been doing it on purpose. It's on purpose, and it is not about buying Greenland, because he knows he would never fucking get Greenland. It's about something else. So this dude here is manipulating and capping for Putin. That's what this is.
With significant support for full independence from Denmark too.
I don't know why the Danes keep getting offended by something that is said in the US, because it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with the Greenlandic people.
Greenland's government will now meet with their Danish and US counterparts next week about what happens next.
Greenland is really important, not just to America's missile defense, but to the world's missile defense. What we're asking our European friends to do is to take the security of that landmass more seriously, because if they're not, the United States is going to have to do something about it.
But is a US annexation necessary to shore up defence? The US had thousands of troops in Greenland during the Cold War. Now around 150 American personnel are stationed at Bidufik Space Base in the island's far north.
It's not Denmark's responsibility. It's all of our responsibilities.
This Arctic security expert believes the US pressure could be more about rare earth minerals than missiles.
The amount of reserves around the planet has put this in a pretty sensitive situation for the United States, where there is relative abundance in Greenland.
The CEO of Canadian mining company Amaroq, which operates in...
You see, there's already U.S. mining going on there, right? There's already Canadian mining going on in Greenland, right? So they didn't want to say all of this, and this is another aspect of it. I mean, if he's saying, they're pretending like they're not already doing business in Greenland and not already and don't already have access to Greenland. So here's the thing. This whole thing was meant to be a public spectacle. That's what it was meant to be. It was meant to catch Denmark off guard. It was meant to be something to throw around in the media. It was meant to be like a gift to Putin. That's really what it was meant to be. Trump doing this. Greenlandic people don't even want to be, and they've already voted or they've already taken some polls and all of this shit, right? They've already said they don't want to be a part of the USA. So, I mean, again, I don't know how many times you have to ask. I don't know how many times you have to have the conversation, but I think with the agreement that they have, the bottom line is that they do have a security agreement and arrangement with Denmark. So, and they are also moving towards independence, and they've been doing that for a minute. So, I mean, I don't understand what this is about, but everyone knows Greenlandic people don't want to be part of the United States. Just very simple. You could, I mean, and I'm just saying it, knowing plenty of Greenlandic people and having talked to some of them. You see what I mean? No. And let me ask everybody out here. Would you want me to buy you? Because you're talking about owning people. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about owning people. And what year? What year is it? 2025? You think you can do that? That's what happened with the West Indies, with the Danish West Indies, right? The entire island and its people were basically sold to the United States of America. You see, they still don't have voting rights today. They don't have voting rights today. They don't actually have a vote in the Senate. You see what I mean? And in the Congress, So why would you want to buy Greenland? You see what I mean? Like, so you just want another group of people that don't have a vote? You see, in Congress and in the Senate? A lot of people don't know the history of that, but yeah, the United States bought the U.S. Virgin Islands from Denmark. I forget what year that is. Let me look this up. All right, here we go. Let me see 2 seconds before I get to the next clip here with Marco Rubio and the rest of the debate. 1917, right? The U.S. bought the Danish West Indies from Denmark in 1917. The purchase price was $25 million in gold. The island was later renamed U.S. Virgin Islands, right? What they can vote for, right? They can vote for local elections, governor, legislator, local offices, territorial primaries, Democratic and Republican primaries. They elect a delegate to the U.S. House of Representatives. This delegate cannot vote on final passage laws. What they cannot vote for: president or vice president of the United States, voting members of the U.S. Senate, voting members of the U.S. House. This is because the U.S. Virgin Islands is a U.S. territory, not a state, and the Constitution limits presidential elections to states via the Electoral College. See, so citizen status. People born in the U.S. Virgin Islands have been U.S. citizens since 1927, but they don't have rights to vote. Okay? Taxation without representation. Despite citizenship, their voting rights remain limited unless they move to the U.S. state. Understand that? So, why the hell would anyone want to go for that deal? Because that's exactly what they plan on doing. That's exactly what they want to do. Do you really think they're going to have another state where they can't control who the people vote for? Is that what you really think? And do you really think Greenlanders, who you think they're going to vote for? You think they're going to vote for ICE? You think they're going to vote to be bullied around every fucking day? I mean, what do you think? What do you think the lifestyle is going to be like? What do you think the United States wants to offer them? What do you think that is? Do you think it's going to be an improvement? I mean, I'm just saying. So far, I haven't heard anybody say, that they're looking forward to being bought. Like straight up. I haven't heard anybody say that, but this is what we're talking about. This is how absurd it is. So, that Donald Trump, how they play, they like to grease palms. They like to grease palms. And I guess if you're an opposition party, who knows what that's like? But as far as I know and seen, the survey from, let me see here, Greenland. Let me see something. Okay. It says there have been opinion surveys, Greenland, about whether people want to join the United States, especially in response to the U.S. political rhetoric. Poll results on joining the United States. The clearest and most widely cited survey was conducted in January 2025 by the polling firm Veered, commissioned by the Greenlandic and Danish media outlets. About 85% of the Greenlanders say they do not want Greenland to leave Denmark and become part of the United States. Only about 6% support the idea of joining the U.S. Around 9% were undecided. The poll interviewed a representative sample of Greenlandic residents aged 18 and over. Okay, so it's a survey. Now, I mean, I don't know what else. Here, hold on. The same survey, when asked about Greenlandic independence referendum, right? So they were also asked about that, leaving Denmark but not joining the U.S. A majority, about 56, said they would vote for independence if such a vote were held, with 28% opposed and 17%. Okay, and I think they already have an understanding that they're self-governing Greenland. Let me make sure here. Let me see here. Yeah, Greenland is self-governing. That's what I thought. I just would like to make sure, since 2009, right? So, yeah, it's on its way. Let me see here. Domestic policy, right? Hold on. Let me see here. Do they have universal health care and education? Let me see something. I'm just curious about that because I never really looked into this. So look, Greenland provides universal health care and education for its residents, though there are some practical limitations due to the geography and population density. Here's the full picture, okay? So universal coverage. All residents in Greenland, including Danish citizens living there, receive health care paid for by the government. The system is funded by Greenland's government budget and the Danish block grant. Okay, hospitals, largest hospital is Queen's Ingrid. Okay, so, I mean, listen, and then what else? Education, universal coverage. Education is free and compulsory for children 6 to 16. The system is funded by the Greenlandic government. Primary and lower secondary schools available in nearly every town. Upper secondary schools, gymnasium, right? That's like high school, mostly in larger towns. Vocational education offered in trade schools and specialized programs. Higher education, there's a University of Greenland and Nuuk. Many students also study abroad. Language. So that's universal. You see what I mean? So what is the U.S. planning on doing? Is the U.S. planning on going there and bringing a American-style healthcare system and education system to Nuuk? Is that what they plan on doing? You know, but I mean, I'm just saying, you know, these are questions worth asking, you know, before we even begin to take this shit serious. You see what I mean? But Trump didn't want to have a conversation, a real conversation about this. What Trump wanted to do was threaten an ally. Why? Yeah, I wonder why. Why is that so smart? You know, who else would want that? Who would want NATO to break up? Well, it just happens to be what Putin wanted. It just happens to be what Putin said he was afraid of, NATO. It also happens to be what Trump's one of his, what is that guy's name? What's the dude that worked on his campaign again? Damn, I can't remember it. But in any case, they know very well that Russia has been working towards breaking up NATO, that would be the biggest wish of Putin. They know damn well that is the case. You see what I mean? So where are the real games at? And at the end of the day, it is, for me, it's up to the Greenlandic people, but that's what I heard Denmark say. I heard Denmark say that. So if the Greenlandic people want to have a vote, they can have a vote any damn time. How come they don't want to have a vote? You see what I mean? But in any case, let's listen to more of this about Greenland. And then, we will see what else is going on here. Because there's a lot going on, obviously.
Not taken Denmark's offer to discuss the situation in Greenland. And
I'll be meeting with them next week.
But will you take military intervention off the table?
I'm not here to talk about Denmark or military intervention. I'll be meeting with them next week. We'll have those conversations with them then.
Is the administration really willing to risk the NATO alliance by potentially moving ahead?
Guys,
military operation?
What I think the White House said yesterday is what I will tell you now, and I've always said. The president always retained the option. Every president, not this president, every president always retains the option. I'm not talking about Greenland. I'm just talking about globally. If the president identifies a threat to the national security of the United States, every president retains the option to address it through military means. As a diplomat,
so it's a threat to the United States, but they don't want any military there. But it's a threat to the United States right now. Greenland, according to Marco Rubio, is a threat, a security threat to the U.S. right now, but they don't want to send any soldiers there. They don't want to send any more military there. Do you know how many military people they have there? They have 100 people? Something like that? Isn't that what it is? It's just like 100 people. But they're talking about they need it for security. Okay, so why don't you send people there? Why don't you, expand your base? Why don't you get busy on the security? Like, what is this about? I mean, the truth of the matter is that, experts say no one's coming for Greenland. It's not under threat. Greenland is not under threat from Russia or China. That's something Trump has been saying. And you can believe it because Trump often lies, and so does his cabinet. If you will lie about American people, you will lie to the rest of the world. And that's what you're saying.
Which is what I am now and what we work on. We always prefer to settle it in different ways. That included in Venezuela.
You see that? So that's the threat. That's his statement. We always agree to handle it in different ways, that we can handle it in different ways. That's what we did in Venezuela. So you could see that this is what he's trying to sell the American people. And I understand why. Because if you want to do something, it really does help to have the American people's backing, to have American people want it to happen, right? So you talk about it, try to feel the water, try to measure and see, okay, how do the American people feel about this? Well, guess what? They've done that. They've measured the water. And let me tell you, if you want the United States of America to be less safe, you will handle business like Trump is handling it. You will continue to handle business that way. And we already went over this. Some time ago. All we have to do here is look at the map. That's all we have to do. And anybody, let me see this. Can I do this? Okay, hold on. Anybody can see, let me take my camera off, matter of fact. Anybody can see there's a big old waterway to the right of Greenland. Greenland's that white spot, that big white spot. Anybody can see there's a huge waterway to the right of Greenland. And if you zoom in, that goes to Russia, that waterway, by the way. So, I don't know if you want to patrol those waters together with NATO. I don't know if you want NATO allies telling you what's going on out there, what they discover. Maybe you just want to work that sea all by yourself for your own security. Maybe, you don't need the Canadians helping you either, man. Fuck that. Yeah, the Canadians are just too weak, right? You don't need nobody, right? You're going to make them, you also want to buy Canada and the people of Canada. You want to own them, right? Isn't it? Ha 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 ha. That's so funny. Wow. That's so funny. Hee hee hee. Really love to live on the wild side with the American people's tax dollars. Hee ha 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 ha. That's so funny. That's so funny. Wow. I'm glad that I don't have health care and I'm making jokes like this. Woo-hoo-hoo. Wow. A whole lot of fun. Yay. Yay. My grandma's going broke and get kicked out of the house, but I'm making jokes about Denmark. That's so funny. In any case, you can see this waterway right here. And if you just, oops, did that get bigger? Let's go back. And if I zoom out here, right, there we go. Perfect. If I zoom out, oh no, I need to do that more. Sorry, it's reacting a little slow right now, the net. Okay, can you see that now? Right. Now you can see this waterway, right? So this waterway is what leads right past from the Atlantic Ocean. This is the Atlantic Ocean, right? And the Faroe Islands is also Danish, by the way. I don't know how many people know that here. Right? I believe that's Denmark also. That's part of it, right? But in any case, let's go over here. So this is the Atlantic Ocean, right? And you come into the Baltic Sea right here. And to come into the Baltic Sea, you have to go by Denmark. You see, that's a small area you have to go through. So it's a perfect place to observe submarines. It's a perfect place to observe shipping. From right here, this is your best shot right here. Denmark's been a great ally. You know why? Because if you just go up here, well, here's St. Petersburg. And they have an inlet and they have subs, Russia. So if you want to stop those subs from getting out on this Atlantic Ocean and coming over to the U.S., a good friend to have is Denmark. You won't have a better friend with that. That's been the relationship. That's been one of the key things about it. This waterway that goes into St. Petersburg, it has to go right past Denmark, So into Swedish territory, into Polish territory, finally into Danish territory also. You see here? You see that? So, I don't know if that's the U.S.'s plan, is to isolate themselves and make them have to do all the work because they want to threaten NATO nations. I mean, is that too smart? But there are some people that think the U.S. is a Superman story. The U.S. can do anything. They can defend themselves all alone from China, and they can defend themselves all alone from Russia. They don't need nobody, right? So, I mean, I guess that's what it's going to be when you always have, if you're going to have a president that is talking that shit, people have to find out. And, and this is the thing. about it. You might think that, oh, well, it's not any sense of urgency to get Trump to stop. You might think that, but I'm just telling you that's not the way to go, because relationships, depend on value, how much you value people, and you constantly reassure of that value to keep those bonds, because those bonds equal power. But it doesn't come, when you can't be trusted. And I'm sorry, but this is the American people's business. If we want to be trusted, if we want to have a good life, we got to have serious politicians. We have to have serious leaders that are willing to engage the world, because that reflects on who we are. If people don't take us serious, we lose in the end. It's us that loses, because everybody else is serious in this world. Everybody else wants a leg up. And if the United States doesn't want to have competent leadership, the rest of the world is not going to wait on it. They're not going to wait on the U.S., So
the president retains the option to address it through military means. As a diplomat, which is what I am now, and what we work on, we always prefer to settle it in different ways. That included in Venezuela.
Right. So he wants to settle it in different ways. Okay, we get that. So here we go. So finally, Trump says, you know what? Oh, hold on. Here we go. Check this out. Finally, Trump says, you know what? We think it's a good idea to meet the Danes and talk about this. We finally think it's a good idea. Look at this.
Sounds like.
Hold on. Here we go.
Do you want Stephen Miller to lose his job?
Look, either Stephen Miller needs to get into a lane where he knows what he's talking about, or get out of his job. Look, the reason why I thought it was important for me to make a comment on the floor is I've been the Republican leader of the Senate NATO Observer Group since 2018. There is no more important alliance than the NATO alliance. And Denmark has punched above its weight. It came to Afghanistan, lost 43 soldiers on the ground, fought in some of the most contested regions, honoring their Article 5 commitment to the United States.
I think they lost more soldiers than any other country per capita.
Per capita, they did. And Jake, they were in among the NATO allies at the time. It was 30 nations. They were among the top 6. And think about all the nations bigger than them. So to have the Prime Minister suggest that they have to be prepared for some sort of action by the United States suggests to me that Mr. Miller does not know anything about the alliance, the importance of it. And, generals, I was on Senate Armed Services for 8 years, and generals would always say the same thing. The only thing worse than going to war with allies is going to war without allies. This alliance is critically important. Shaking that alliance sends a signal to Putin that he's winning, and Stephen Miller doesn't represent the U.S. government. He represents the Article 2 branch, and I, as a member of the U.S. Senate, get to weigh into this issue, and I know, whether they say it out loud or not, most of my colleagues agree with me.
Do you want Stephen Miller to lose?
So, that's the head of the Republican. That's the Republican whip. You see what I mean? And, if you don't want to listen to a liberal, if you don't want to listen to a Democrat, if you don't want to listen to me, it's amazing because I'm in the company with this guy. I'm in the company with this dude, the head of the Republican whip, Republican senators. I'm having the same opinion that he's having. You see what I mean? So I'm pretty comfortable with my view because it's not partisan, number one. You see what I mean? It's about the point. It's about the specifics. It's about this particular situation. And like I said a million times, I don't care what party you're from. It's about the issues. I vote issues. I don't vote party. I'm a proud Democrat. I'm a proud liberal, but I vote on issues. Okay? So don't sleep on the Democratic Party. But on this case, he happens to share the same opinion. Look, it shouldn't be too hard. This is the rational, intelligent approach. So even though this dude is a Republican on this matter, he seems rational And of course, we're going to have some trolls and we're going to have some maggots, and some of them, there's always going to be some of them, and they're going to disagree with Republicans and Democrats this time around. They're going to disagree with me, the liberal. They're going to disagree with the Republican. They're going to call him a rhino. You know, they're only going to wait for QAnon to tell them what to do, or some Elon Musk post. You know what I mean? It's like they will not listen to math and science at all. They just don't do that. Don't know what it's like. Forgot the purpose of it. This kind of shit. But let's continue now. Check this out. This is even where it gets more interesting.
Oplevelsen
Because even India is like, what the fuck? Check this out.
Us up in this as well, because we do think that this is in the interest of everybody all over the world. If we start a game where it's okay to start to go and try to annex regions that you have absolutely no right to and no claim to whatsoever.
With us, and welcome to ANI. First
Hello.
of all, I just want to ask you about the recent developments regarding Greenland. US President Donald Trump has renewed his push to take over Greenland, and his administration has said military force is amongst the options that are being considered. How do you see these statements coming from US?
It's very concerning, and of course very unacceptable that we are being threatened with military force by the United States. We would have never imagined that would happen. It is quite shocking. It is new that you are threatening allies, countries that have done absolutely nothing against you, except for being very, very loyal allies. And it's concerning for other countries as well, because if Denmark can be the target of such aggression, nobody's going to be safe. I mean, Venezuela was attacked last week. You can agree or not agree to it, but there was reason. There was some tension and hostility. But in the case of Greenland, there is absolutely no excuse. There's no threat. There's no hostility. There's no need, because the Americans already have access to Greenland, both militarily and in all other ways. There's no drug lords. There's no illegitimate government in Greenland. There's absolutely no justification for it. No historical ownership, no broken treaties. Nothing can justify it. So if Greenland and Denmark can be target of aggression like that, who's next? It's very concerning.
Who is next? And
the justification of the world.
2 seconds. Hold on. Sorry about that.
Was that Europe and Denmark. Europe and Denmark are not doing enough to secure the region, and there is a threat from Russia, and Chinese missile threat is there. So, do you think there is a missile threat from Russia and China, and Europe is not doing enough?
No, it's complete nonsense.
All right, there it is. Because we've heard this before. I mean, people that have watched my program, that they've seen this before. That not this clip, but they've seen this politician, Danish politician, speak about this topic a couple of times on a few different networks. But here's the thing: it's nonsense. So how does that go back to the U.S. and the American voter? Listen, Trump is saying these things because he really wants to manipulate the voters. It's the same thing I was saying before. Putin, why does Putin bomb residential areas? Why does he bomb residential areas right when they're about to have peace talks? Why does he do that every time? It's because he can show the viciousness in one single shot. You see what I mean? And it's guaranteed to be on TV, and there will be a sense of urgency. That's what he wants to do, but he wants it to be manifested on TV. Why? Because he wants to push the American people in a certain direction. That's what he's trying to do. And people need to wake up to that stuff, right? Because it looks very powerful when you see him bombing residential areas, but actually that's like those are war crimes when you do that. Secondly, You know, they don't show you on TV all of the engagements, the normal military engagements all the time. But that, because it's such a fucked up act to do, it's guaranteed to make the news. That's what Putin really wants. He wants it to be in the news, so he bombs residential areas, you know, and it will make the news. And then the American people kind of feel like, oh, wow, you know, Putin's winning. Why don't Ukraine just agree with him? That's what they're trying to do, literally. And if you notice, this is a tactic. Trump will keep repeating those same words, repeating the same words, because that's what it's, you know, they're working together. I mean, whether, you know, I can't say that I know for a fact, but I can say that this is what everyone suspects. Everybody with a understanding of geopolitics can read right through this play between Denmark, Greenland, Ukraine, and Putin. It's all there right in front of you. You know, you know, it's nothing to even guess anymore. What Trump is saying is ridiculous. He knows he can't get Greenland. He knows he can't buy Greenland. He's not even talking like he's serious about it. He's talking about it like a lunatic. That ought to show you that it's bullshit. You see what I'm saying? And I'm just saying, American people, this is your president. This is our president. Do you want your tax dollars spent this way? Is this what you want your tax dollars doing? Is that what you want? Because basically what you're saying is, if you believe in Trump, you may as well be a complete phony too, because Trump is a complete phony. You see, only people that are cool with being phony support Trump. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And reality is 100% going to catch up with the fraud. And the problem with that is that it's going to catch up to the American people too. You see what I mean? So folks need to cut his ass loose, you know, and impeach Trump now, because listen, every bit of work that has to be done to repair this country has to be done by the American people. You have to understand that. You will be the ones doing all the work after you've done all the suffering. You have to realize that. You got to realize that. So whatever you want to do, demand that your politicians cut Trump the fuck off, and that they never go back to this. Also make reparative damages. You know, there has to be some sense of norm that gets back at least what the country lost, and it should be better. Things like healthcare. Listen, healthcare in the United States is a scam. It doesn't matter if you have it or not. Even if you have healthcare, what you have is a scam, because you could pay into healthcare for 10 years, all of a sudden lose your job or not be able to afford it for 1 month. And guess what happens to you? You won't have healthcare if you should just suddenly need it. That's a scam. You can't collect money from people for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden when they need it, boom, it's all gone. You see what I mean? Hey, big girl, I see you. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's the scam. Then the fact that it's the most expensive in the Western world, that's a scam too. Then the fact that everybody can't even get coverage. You see what I mean? Like there's huge masses of people, millions of people that can't get coverage, you know, anyway, just on a normal day, just because how it's formulated, the administrative fees, the executive fee, you know, all of that goes into the privatization part. And it's like when you're buying in and here's the thing, when you buying in as a collective, right? As a collective, that's supposed to bring the price down. But here's what the American people need to know. Do you know that Congress, MAGA Mike Johnson, and these motherfuckers, they actually want congressional members to be able to buy in? Did you know that? Do you know that? They want to be able to buy in on their own collective plan. But they don't want the American people to have their collective plan. This is bullshit. So there's loads of these other frauds going on. That should be taken care of. Healthcare is definitely a non-starter. Like anything that happens after Trump has to start with every goddamn American citizen having health care, period. And it can, you know what I'm saying? And you can still have that and bring down the taxes. You could still do that. Actually, that's manageable. Like straight up, it's manageable. Economists have already they've already analyzed it. You see what I mean? So it's not like it's impossible. It's very possible, and it's even cheaper. So these kind of things, American people we got to get on the ball with this shit, because we're making ourselves look stupid. Other countries have this shit the whole time, and we're still the only ones like dinosaurs. We're like fucking dinosaurs. We still operating like dinosaurs. Don't want infrastructure for diverse energy. What the? We're operating like dinosaurs. How are you going to keep energy costs down when you don't even have diverse energy? Duh. What do you think brings the cost down? Diversity, possibilities. Instead they got a monopoly on energy in the United States of America. That's really what you got, is a fucking monopoly, a functioning monopoly. It may not be a technical one, but it functions like a monopoly. But in any case, on to the other news. JD Vance didn't just talk about Denmark, open his big mouth up about Denmark. That wasn't the only thing. And he also opened up his mouth about this woman who was shot, Renee Good, who was shot in Minnesota by the ICE agent. And there's been a lot of news going around about it. There's a lot of, Republicans are on the run with it because, they basically play the American people with these talking points that don't make any sense. If you're in law enforcement, then you know what they're saying doesn't make any goddamn sense. And we're going to get into that. And what I want to say is, rest in peace, Renee Good. Rest in peace. And that I hope that people are able to rally around her child and, the people that are going to take care of her kid and, her loved ones. Also, I think she was married, right? She had a wife or something like that. This kind of thing, to give some kind of support, moral support, but also whatever other kind of support, because you know how people are. And when, you don't know their finances or what their situation is. But this never needs to happen again. I said yesterday, and when I was opening in my monologue that what we need is we need to caress each other with love. We need to display love. We need to show each other what these people hate, because that's really what they hate. They hate when different kinds of people express love and appreciation and just decency towards each other. They really fucking hate that, but that's the key. That's the key to life. That's the key to progress in the country. That is really literally the key. And they hate that progress. They don't want to see it. They're so petty. They don't want to see, like I said, they don't want to see a Polish immigrant family talking to an African-American family. They don't want to see a Jewish family talking to, an Italian family. They don't want to see, a Mexican family talking to a German family immigrants. They don't want to see any of that. They want to see everybody put in their own little corners because we're easier to control that way, even though we're all goddamn Americans. We don't need anybody to teach us what the fuck America is. I don't need anybody to teach me what the fuck America is. I'm the living embodiment of it. I'm the living embodiment of it myself. It runs through my fucking veins. You see what I mean? Seriously, and it's insulting to have to listen to this bullshit. You see what I mean? And we're going to have to put this shit to rest. But the first way we do it is by showing each other love, showing each other that we're smart enough to acknowledge each other and know our value, know each other's value, and don't have this thing where we're trying to devalue people. You see what I mean? Let's double down on the values. You see what I mean? Because that's what these people hurt, and that's what they don't get. They want to be in their little corner. Well, go on in your little corner and see how that lasts. See how it lasts. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, rewind this video and go back to the beginning of it when I'm talking about immigrants. Think about this. They hate immigrants so much. I said this before, but they don't want Americans to have health care. They hate immigrants so much, but they don't want Americans to have access to education, affordable higher education, technical school. But they hate immigrants so much. They running around talking about, you won't replace us. But without health care for all American citizens and without the opportunity to get a decent education, a tech school or whatever it is, right? Trade school or university, right? We will be replaced. What the fuck do you think? What do you think? The Republican Party and their policies is setting up Americans to be replaced. All of us, all Americans to be replaced. You see what I mean? That's the problem. You know what I mean? They trying to make it seem like we're weak, like we're not willing to work for ours. That's not the issue. We've always been willing to work for ours. The problem is that we've had these motherfucking politicians that want us to pay their salary, pay for their health care, and then they try to deny us health care. They want us to pay for their kids' education through the taxes, and then they try to deny our kids based on money. You see what I mean? That's the problem. That's the problem. If we had this, if the families had the support that they needed in the first place in the United States of America, you wouldn't be scared of fucking immigrants. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, and trust me, they're real scared of immigrants. You know what I'm saying? They more scared of immigrants than their own goddamn shadow. I mean, it's like, goddamn, is it that bad? Is it that bad? Boo. All right, so in any case, let's listen to J.D. Vance talk his lies. You know, let's listen to it. We got to hear it. We got to hear him talk his lies because it wouldn't be a day, you know, in politics without his punk ass. So here we go.
Justice is going to investigate this. The Department of Homeland Security is already investigating this. But the simple fact is, what you see is what you get in this case. You have
Do me a favor. Click the like button, y'all. I appreciate it.
Woman who was trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. Nobody debates that. You have a woman who aimed her car at a law enforcement officer and pressed on the accelerator. Nobody debates that. I can believe that her
I debate it.
Death is a tragedy, while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe against our law enforcement officers. I think what is clearly happening here, and it's going to keep on.
That's why she died, because she's a lunatic fringe that launched it at a. I mean, if you're going to be a lunatic, why can't we kill some of these motherfuckers? I mean, if you're the lunatic, why are you the one being killed? If being a lunatic is so dangerous, then why the fuck are we the ones being killed? You know what I mean? When are they going to get killed? You see what I mean? Like, what the fuck? When is the lunatic going to kill a cop? You know what I'm saying? When is the lunatic going to kill a motherfucking... You know what I'm saying? Can the lunatics get it right for a change? Goddamn.
Happening unless the Democrats wake up and say, you know what? You don't have to agree with our immigration policies. You don't have to agree with what
she had a gun. You know what I'm saying? Like, if she was really, if she wanted to kill this motherfucker, she would have pulled out a gun and shot his ass just like he did. You know what I mean? But instead, they want to craft this thing. No, man, she tried to use the car as a weapon. Motherfucker, this is the United States of America. Okay, there's guns everywhere. If someone wants to kill a cop, they know where to get a fucking weapon. If someone wants to shoot ICE, they know where to get a gun of all places in the world. The United States of America, anybody can get a motherfucking gun. Okay? You know, straight up. And they're like, no, she went and got a car. And she's a part of a motherfucking terrorist group. A terrorist group that's just running over people in their motherfucking, you know, it's like they're just making up all kinds of shit. It's like, come on. They haven't seen the left try to commit crimes like they commit every fucking day. And I'm not just talking about ICE, but they haven't seen the left have any fucking mass murderers out there, you know, shooting normally. I mean, come on, don't forget that the most of the shootings and the violence, the hate crime and the mass shootings and all of that shit, terrorist threat, it's done by right-wing people in the United States of America. You know, the data is still true. The data is still there. Even if they don't want to look at it, that is what the data is, you know. So, you know, it's just gaslighting again, just gaslighting, you know. Who blew up the Oklahoma building? Timothy McVeigh. You see what I'm saying? Right. Who was the president? Clinton. He didn't like Clinton going after the guns, even though David Koresh was sleeping with little girls, stocking guns. You know, he was sleeping with all his wives had children, and he was trying to sleep with them. He had them all hooked up and guns, stashing guns, loads of guns, grenades, bombs, all kinds of shit. So they went over there Timothy McVeigh didn't like that he saw the ATF, I'm sorry, go in there. They didn't like that, so they blew up the Oklahoma Federal Building. Yes, they did. You see, so it's been things like this going on the whole time. Everyone in the United States of America knows this, and it's just, I'm talking about the masses of it. Now, of course, you have to have the, what do you call it? The standard, who's Charlie Kirk question, the standard, because they can't go back a year and remember anybody else, or 2 years. I just went back many years and can remember Timothy McVeigh, but there's a long list of right-wing killers in the United States of America. That's the biggest list. That list outdoes any other type of extremism in the country. Okay. And even the person that killed Charlie Kirk comes from a Republican family, was brought up in a Republican state, taught to shoot assault rifles from the age of a child. Okay. So he didn't grow up in a left-wing state. He wasn't taught how to shoot a assault rifle by a liberal. You see what I'm saying? But again, this is the kind of mind, what do you call it? Amnesia. A lot of these people get, like, they can't really look in the mirror. You see what I mean? They have a hard time looking in the mirror and shit. So they want to imagine that a liberal taught that man who shot Charlie Kirk how to shoot an assault rifle, when it was really his dad, who's a MAGA freak and a Republican. Like, that's what it was. You see what I mean? They don't like that. His dad said, here, son, here's the gun. Learn how to shoot this. This is what you use to kill people with. That's what happened. And one day he shot somebody. Okay. So, yeah. But in any case,
president or the vice president believe about immigration enforcement. But why don't you take this to the ballot box? Why don't you vote? Why don't you organize? Instead, what some of them are doing is encouraging people to get violent with our law enforcement officials. It's disgraceful, and it's got to stop.
So the head of Minnesota's investigations agency says that the U.S. Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this investigation?
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota...
So they're afraid. They don't want the state to investigate it, right? They don't want the state to have an investigation because J.D. Vance doesn't trust the state. So here you have it. They don't trust an entire state's law enforcement. They don't trust in it. Their case doesn't stand up strong enough on its own to where anyone else is allowed to investigate it. Does that sound like they're too confident about that case? They don't want any other law enforcement looking at that case. They don't feel strong enough. They don't feel strong enough to even have any other law enforcement look at it. They're too chicken shit because they know what they're saying in the public is bullshit and can easily be broken down, And it will be. Watch.
Would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement.
Do you understand Charlotte? Anybody remember Charlotte? When they had this group down there, there was what day was it? Hold on, let me pull it up. He's talking about a car. Let me see here. Let me just pull this up for people. Check this out. There was a major traffic incident in Charlotte in 2025 where the people were hit. Hold on. Let me see something here. Let me make sure I get the right place. Okay, here we go. This is what it is. Charlottesville, Virginia. Anybody remember Charlottesville, Virginia? Let's listen to what J.D. Vance just said. Here we go.
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation.
Okay, so he said so many people, right? This is what he said, right? That's J.D. Vance's own words. And, hey, I guess some MAGA people are going to trust him until they're, all the way until they're dead because, they like, holding water for J.D. Vance. He's a punk ass who lied about he even said how stupid right wingers were, and they still haven't figured it out. But in any case, here, check this out.
I see what you're asking. You want to know about terrorism-related plots or attacks that occurred in the U.S. under Donald Trump's last presidency, 2017-2021, especially anything like vehicle attacks or domestic terrorism.
Yes.
Here's the accurate breakdown. Trump's last term, January 2017, January 2021. 1. Domestic right-wing extremist attacks.
Do you want Stephen
Several
Miller to...
vehicle ramming or terrorism-style incidents did occur in the U.S., but none were in Charlotte, NC. Date, location, perpetrator, type, details. Aug 12, 2017, Charlottesville, VA, white supremacist.
That's the one.
A man drove his car into counter-protesters at the Unite the Right rally, killing 1 and injuring 35+, convicted of murder and hate crimes. Wikipedia, please open your app to see this link.
J.D. Vance forgot
Dec 31st,
that.
2019, Manhattan, NY, terrorist attack, ISIS-inspired. A man drove a truck into a crowd, killing 8 people. NY Times, please open your app to see this link. Oct 27th, 2018, Pittsburgh, PA, synagogue shooting, mass shooting, not vehicle. Domestic terrorism, anti-Semitic motivation. Various 2017-2020, US nationwide, right-wing plots and arrests. FBI reported multiple domestic terrorism investigations. Militia, white supremacist, anti-government, including plans involving explosives or attacks on minority communities. Charlotte, NC, no verified terrorist or right-wing vehicle attacks happened.
So you see, right here under Trump's last presidency, which obviously J.D. Vance doesn't even fucking remember. Maybe he was an infant baby when Trump was the president, but I wasn't. I remember that. That wasn't that long ago. My memory is like an elephant's memory. It's not like it's not like a person with ADHD. No pun intended to anybody, but my focus. I can recall things like that. Now, the bottom line is that he's talking about people running folks over in cars, right? But this really happened. Charlottesville, 2017, a white supremacist, right? A man drove his car. Look at this. This is crazy. Drove his car. Damn. Wow. Okay. What does this say here? Let me just make this a little more easier to read. Okay. Damn, this is scary. Actually, I just got a little shocked when I read it. But in any case, here it says, come on now. Did I just miss this? Sorry, I just missed. I went right past where I was at before. Sorry about that, y'all. 2 seconds. Here we go. Okay. Now I'm on it. So it says, Charlotte, Virginia, 2017, when a man drove into a crowd at a Unite the Right rally, killing 1 counter protester. So you see, and injuring dozens. So they have 1 woman that they're claiming took a car from the left and drove it over one individual. That's what they're claiming. Under Donald Trump's first term as president, 2017, at the Unite the Right rally, killing 1 counter protester and injuring dozens. So they killed a protester and injured dozens. That incident was ruled domestic terrorism, vehicle ramming attack by white supremacists, and the driver was convicted of murder and hate crimes. And J.D. Vance has no inclination. He can't even figure that out. He's like, when did they start doing this? When does this become a thing? Okay. Now it says, check this out. While there hasn't been a vehicle attack, tied to terror. While there hasn't been a vehicle attack in Charlotte tied to terrorism, federal authorities disrupted a planned terror attack plot in the area. Okay, so it says in early 2026, the FBI and Department of Justice announced the arrest of an 18-year-old man in Charlotte area, Mint Hill, North Carolina, on charges of planning an ISIS-inspired attack. So you see the white supremacists, he have similar, tactic, similar thing, something in common with the ISIS one, right? I mean, he does. Look, check this out. Charlotte has seen crimes like pedestrians. Hold on, I wanted to find where is the table at? They just had a table up where they mentioned all, right. Is it right here? Where they mentioned all of the attacks against, let me see. It was an anti-Semitic attack. There was a white supremacist attack, right? And then there was a Islamic State attack, something like that, right? But in any case, none of this. Oh, is this it? Yeah. In any case, sorry about that, y'all. In any case, he forgot that somebody uses the car, and it's not the only attack. I mean, listen. How many? How many white supremacist attacks have there been in the last 10 years compared to left-wing attacks? So let's just find out what it is. I mean, we may as well go through it because that's what people want to know, right? People want actual data. So here it is. Here's the database comparison of white supremacist far-right extremist attacks versus left-wing extremist attacks in the United States over approximately the last decade, based on multiple reputable sources tracking domestic terrorism incidents and extremist violence, right? Domestic terrorism, right-wing versus left-wing. Right-wing, white supremacist extremists. Right-wing extremists, including white supremacist, militia-associated actors, have historically been involved in major domestic terrorism incidents and plots in the U.S. since the mid-2010s. In multiple data sets from 2015 through recent years, there were 150 right-wing attacks plots recorded, compared with fewer left-wing ones. Right-wing extremist violence has been more frequent and more lethal than left-wing violence, making up roughly 75 to 80% of domestic terrorism deaths in the United States since 2001. ADL data shows 67 documented right-wing terror incidents in 2017 alone, 2017 to 2021 alone. Okay, examples of high-profile right-wing supremacist attacks over the last decade include 2015 Charleston church shooting. J.D. Vance, forget that. They like to shoot up churches. Anybody happy about that? Put a 1 in the chat if you like churches getting shot up. Put a 2 in the chat if you think only a scumbag would do that. Here we go. 2015 Charlotte church shooting. 9 black parishioners killed. 9. Now, they didn't say a federal agent got bumped on the shoulder and somebody said, sorry. That's not what they said. They said 9 black parishioners died. 2017 Charlotte's vehicle attack. That happened. 2018 Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. 11 killed. They didn't say, oh, some lady said, hey, get your shit together, fat boy. And then the agent was like, oh, now I have to kill you. No, that's not what they said. They said 2018 Pittsburgh synagogue shooting, 11 killed. This is a white supremacist killing. They kill Jews too. Did you know that? It's not just Islamic terrorists. That's what white supremacists have in common with Islamic terrorists. They hate Jews. Okay? So 2019, El Paso Walmart shooting, 23 killed. Damn. They didn't say 23 people were insulted by a lady that said, hey, get your shit together, fat boy. No, they said 23 killed. These account for many of the deadliest ideological attacks in recent U.S. history. So there you have it. And there's far less left wing. There's only 20% that's left wing. So let's not take up a whole lot of time on that. But in any case, let's go back to J.D. Vance.
The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to...
He's not protected by state law. He's protected only by federal law. So that means the state can file charges against him. Let me make sure. Let me see something. Yeah, I don't even see. Yeah, it's simple. Yes, a U.S. state technically can file criminal charges against a federal officer, you know? So, I mean, there it is. It's like, you know, yeah, the states have their own criminal laws, assault, homicide, kidnapping. They apply to anyone within the borders. It doesn't matter who it is. You know, it's separation of powers, and there it is. There it is for you. So J.D. Vance is again out in the public trying to convince the public that the Democrats are doing something wrong, that it's just ridiculous, that it's just somehow out of the norm, when actually this is how they function every day of the week and have since the beginning of the country. So J.D. Vance is attempting to go against the norms of the democracy called the United States of America that have been established over 100 years ago. That's what's going on.
Go after and make this guy's...
But there will be some MAGA people that are so stupid they don't know anything about the country they live in or come from. And so when they hear this, it sounds golden. Yeah, that's right. It's all right.
The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim...
Sounds logical, right? Wrong.
Walz and a bunch of...
He wasn't doing his job. He got paid to do a job. But he wasn't doing his job at all. Actually, he's actually lousy. What he did was not in his job description. What he did was actually murder a woman when he was supposed to de-escalate himself. He's the one who escalated everything. You know, that is insane. He just comes out of the blue and starts escalating shit. And when a woman's being told, leave now, by the other federal agents, you know?
Radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the...
We're going to make his life miserable. That's for damn sure. Why not? You know, everybody got to have some red meat. Everybody got to have some red meat. And he's a, you know, I'm so happy to know what his name is, to see what his face look like. I'm so happy. He deserves every piece of misery that he gets. He's a piece of shit.
Job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The unprecedented thing is the idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal official with absolute immunity. I've never seen anything like that. It would get tossed out by a judge. So what I'd like Minnesota to focus on...
That's not true. It won't get tossed out by a judge. No, it won't get tossed out by a judge at all. What's he talking about?
Is the real issue that they're encouraging people. Minneapolis officials are encouraging people to commit violence against ICE officials. It's ridiculous. It's got to stop. Go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you. You said earlier that there's a left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and make it impossible for ICE officers to do their job. You told my colleague just now that there's an investigation going on into that network.
Yep.
Do me a favor. Click the like button, y'all, if you don't mind. It helps more people come in contact with this stream. I appreciate it.
So, if everything that you say is true, how does being part of that network justify being shot?
Good question.
Well, being part of the network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you...
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Being rammed by a car doesn't justify you getting shot. See, he's just making up things. I'm not saying that's the nicest experience on earth, but it doesn't justify that. That's not how the law works. That's not how the department is trained. That's not how it works. And this officer, the more you find out about what he was supposed to do according to the training and according to, his actual training, first of all, he's the one that escalated it. Whatever happened to de-escalation? How can you come and escalate something at the same time your partners, the same people that you're there with, are telling the woman to do the opposite of what you're telling her to do? So first of all, that doesn't make sense. Secondly, when the woman crashed her car, a doctor said, "Hey, can I check her pulse at least?" And they said, "No, we have our own doctors." So they refused the woman any type of medical attention. They refused her, right? And the dude even said, "I don't care." The dude said, "I'm a physician." The guy and the agent said, "I don't care." Okay. Secondly, where is it in the training that you shoot in the direction of your own colleagues and other bystanders behind it in the same line of fire? Where is that done in your training? Where's that done? Where's that done? Who told you to walk up to her motherfucking car? Who told you to do that? Who told you to start screaming at her? Was that not escalating? Yeah, that was fucking escalating. You screamed at her. You called her a motherfucking bitch. Like, what do you expect? She wasn't talking to you like that. They weren't talking like that. You see? So here's the thing. There's loads of things that the officers did wrong. There's loads of things that they did wrong. But it's really going to come down to this. Why was he on camera walking around like he was perfectly fine? Why was he running around like he was perfectly fine? Right? Why was he communicating with everyone like he was perfectly fine? Right? Secondly, where were you? You had her driver's license. Not her driver's license. You had the tag on the car. You didn't even have to pursue her because you know who she is, especially with this story that they're talking about. She had been around all day doing this. So you know who the lady is. You know who she is then. So you didn't have to pursue her. Why did you pursue her in the first place? What was the point in pursuing an American citizen? Right? So this whole thing about they were disrupting something. No, where's the disruption happening at? Where's the person they were locking up that she disrupted? No. They didn't disrupt anything. You see, they just didn't like an American citizen asking them, "What are you doing?" That's what they didn't like. What are you doing? Why are you here? That's what they didn't like. So we're going to review that too. But let's let JD Vance finish his lies. He already lied to you. He already lied to you and made it seem like a state can't prosecute him. Wrong. A state can prosecute him. He only has immunity in the feds. That's what that is. Under the feds, he don't have state immunity.
Body to engage in self-defense. It's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car.
She didn't even try to ram the dude. She was trying to get away. You see, and that's just another lie. Getting away, that doesn't justify you murdering her or shooting her. Again, why were you going to her car trying to get her out of her car? Why did you escalate? See, if you didn't get the first thing right, everything else you did is wrong. Pretty much. You see what I mean? So what is it that they wanted with her? And why did they escalate it? And why did both ICE say two different things? Why are they on tape, one ICE telling her to leave and the other one's coming all of a sudden after they tell her to leave and you can see her back up her car? All of a sudden someone else comes and tries to open her door and say, "Get out of the car." Why is that? Why are you sending two conflicting messages to an American citizen? It's very simple. If you're sending two different messages That's your problem, but they killed this lady, and the lady has the right to be scared. She didn't yell at them. She didn't get aggressive with them. They got aggressive with her. That is poor training. They didn't do anything right in their training at all. And the woman is dead now because they didn't do anything right in their training at all. First of all, I'm going to say it again. He shot 4 times, and each shot was in the direction where his co-workers were standing and bystanders were standing. Sorry, you get a fucking F for police work. You're supposed to know how to practice restraint. That's what your training tells you. You're supposed to know how to practice de-escalation. That's what your training tells you. You see? So if you didn't even escalate, you wouldn't even be at her car. You wouldn't be at her car calling her a bitch either. Right? You wouldn't be doing it. And you wouldn't be in a position where you even felt like, oh, because she's scared of you. Now my life is in danger. Isn't that a coincidence? That's what they always say. How many people have we heard that from before? My life was in danger. My life was in danger. That's the standard thing that you have to say to get away with murder. Isn't that a coincidence?
And that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life. And that is the tragedy. Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers, I'm not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not.
Anyway, here we go. JD Vance guessing again. It's just mystical, magical and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me see. Can I make up something? If you're funding, so you never seen a person who is actually exercising their First Amendment right. You never seen that before? That startles you so much in the United States of America. That's First Amendment. You know why it's called First Amendment, right? Because it's actually the first one. It's your first right. It's like, do you know what the second one is? Why they call it the second one? Because it's your second right. You see? So, in any case, here we go.
Not the sort of thing that earns capital punishment, but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault our law enforcement officers. What is, I'm sorry, guys, what's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth.
He's talking to the reporters like that. So he's taking a defensive posture. He doesn't like their reporting, the reporters. Of course, Trump, the administration, they never like any reporters. They done kicked out every goddamn news agency, to make sure it was the one agency they could trust. He's up there calling women the dumbest goddamn reporters I've ever met. Things like this and shit. They're sitting there, they still not happy with the reporting and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, still not happy with the reporting. It's, it just, listen, the bottom line is that they were telling her to leave. They came, the other police, the other aides or whatever they are, goddamn agents showed up and told her something else and were calling her a bitch and yelling at her. So, that's not police. Sorry, but that's not your job. That's not what you're supposed to do. That's wrong. You see? So, no one, exactly, what the fuck is he talking about? No one with sense is going to stand in front of a car. Exactly. Is that what they tell you to do? I mean, in the first place, you know what I'm saying? Like, what the, is that what they tell you to do in the first place? So what he's doing is that he made an accident and he's blaming her for making an accident while she's afraid. You know what I'm saying? But in any case, no, why were they even addressing the woman? Once you tell her to leave, you have to let her go. You know what I'm saying? So it's just chaos. They're going to find some ways to just continue to try to say, listen, I have the right to kill any American citizen anytime there's the slightest issue that comes up that my brain can't compute. Boom, boom, you're dead. That's what rights people have. That's your rights, basically, to live with police with impunity. That's your rights, and you pay their salary. You pay their salary, but through your taxes, but your taxes, right? Any prior convictions, So she wasn't an immigrant, so they couldn't use that. They haven't. Of course, she have no prior convictions because they would have already thrown that shit out there in the media. You see what I mean? They would have already talked about it if she had some prior convictions, because that's how they want to paint people when they shoot them. You see what I mean? So they would be desperate as hell for that, right? So oh, what's up, Donnie? I see you, bro. Yeah, and but in any case, let's just listen to JD Vance because he just started off with a lie and was like, "You can't prosecute a federal agent. They're immune to prosecution. Not under state law. No, they're not. No, they're not. Sorry, that's not right. That's incorrect information."
How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda?
So look, he's about to kill the motherfucking media. He's like, how have you let yourself become agents? And you see how quick he went from the woman as part of a group, you're funding her. Somebody had to fund her to be there. They just making all this shit up. And now he's gone to the next lie. It's the media that are agents. They just let themselves become agents. Okay.
What is, I'm sorry, guys. What's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our laws? You just asked me a question that presumed that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. Next question.
Yeah, so, obviously he doesn't, walking up to somebody, the way that they did, they don't acknowledge that, They don't acknowledge anything, but we're going to hear the witness. The witness busts his ass out. This is the problem, this is why it's so cap. But it's worth hearing how nasty JD Vance is because all American citizens better know something. If you will let this motherfucker or anybody associated with Donald J. Trump, who's been a part of this scam, become president, all you're doing is fucking yourself. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, or independent. If you let anybody, that have to be the basic understanding. You all have to be intelligent enough to know that if you let anyone involved in this administration become the next president, you are definitely the dumbest motherfucker on earth. Like, you don't recognize a hustle when you're being hustled. Okay? Like, really. This guy is trying to hustle people and it ain't working. You know what I'm saying? It ain't working on me. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck? That shit will never work on me, man. He ain't a good enough actor.
I said next question.
I want to go now to John Sandwig, the former ICE acting director. John, what did you think of what you heard?
Bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's looking at the whole administration like they're calling the president loony. You know what I'm saying? They call the whole world. And now JD Vance's turn and shit. Now watch what he's going to say. This just doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Brianna, it's very disappointing to see the Vice President of the United States rush out to these conclusions when there's an investigation underway. It makes it incredible.
It makes no sense. See, they have no norms. He's the president. There's an investigation that they don't want anyone to do. The FBI was like, the state can't do anything. They have to wait. We can't share any information with them either. They have to wait until we're done. And yet, at the same time, JD Vance is acting like they finished their investigation.
Incredibly hard for me to understand how anyone is going to see the results of that investigation as credible when the vice president, the president, the secretary have formally concluded that the shooting was justified and ascribed motivations to the deceased in this case. Brianna, really quickly, I think every person who I worked with at ICE I spoke to about this, many of whom support the president's initiative, some of whom support the president's initiative, some have concerns, but all of whom agree that there are serious questions here. And the proper protocol is...
Even people that work with ICE. But we will have our cappers. We will have our forever cappers, right?
Case, Brianna, really quickly, I think every person who I worked with at ICE, I spoke to about this.
Every person I've worked with in ICE, I've spoke to about this.
Shooting was justified and ascribed motivations to the deceased in this case. Brianna, really quickly, I think every person who I worked with at ICE, I spoke to about this. Many of whom support the president's initiative. Some of whom support the president's initiative.
Many of them support the president's initiative.
Concerns, but all of whom agree that there are serious questions here.
All of them agree that there are serious questions here. Now, look, Tia, what's up, Tia? What's up? Yo, now, how the hell you going to be a trained law enforcement and you shooting your gun in the same direction that your partner is standing in and that bystanders are standing in? How the fuck do you do that? Where is that a representation of being trained well? Can you even do that? Is that what you're supposed to do? No, that's not what you're actually supposed to fucking do. That's the problem. He is supposed to jump out of the fucking way. He is supposed to move his body away from the vehicle. That's exactly what he's supposed to do. And instead, the dumb motherfucker's up here trying to explain how he pointed a gun in the direction of his own colleagues and bystanders to shoot at a woman 4 times who said, "I'm not mad at you," while he was yelling at her, calling her a bitch. I mean,
and the proper protocol is to conduct the investigation as is required by internal DHS rules, as this happens in every other shooting case, and for the secretary and the department leadership to
Oh yeah, you said he walked into the car. I mean, look, I'm just saying it doesn't even matter if he hit her, if she hit him, slightly. The bottom line is that he used deadly force in that situation, and you have laws, you have courts, you have precedent. Even in the federal courts, look, they take a lot of people to the federal court. All of this, and you see people getting re-released. You see the shit not working out. They try to prosecute people in the National Guard and these ICE in different states for all kinds of different shit. People they just randomly walked up on, and the federal courts was like, nope, sorry, Fourth Amendment right. Even though you found a weapon, you didn't have a reason to stop the person. So, boom, out of court. Next. Bring it on. So these persons, they don't really know law enforcement. I mean, sad to say it. And they've unleashed these people on the American people. So they don't really know what they're doing. They exhibit that they don't know what they're doing the entire time. You see what I mean? So he has to go into a court, even if it's a federal court. You could set up the court all you fucking want. Do you understand that's not always guaranteed that it's going to happen? Because you have career judges. Right. So here's the thing. The career judges have precedent. Right. They do in the federal courts. So once a judge is looking at you and you say you aimed your gun in the direction of your colleagues, of innocent bystanders, the first thing a prosecutor is going to ask you is that what you were trained to do? And he's going to have to say no. Because he's not trained to do that. Then they're going to go back to the first part. Why did you even encounter her in the first place? And then they have the video evidence. And then they have the video evidence of the other law enforcement telling her to leave. What are you talking about? Then they got the video evidence of the person telling them, "I'm a doctor. Can I check her pulse?" No. Right? I don't care. I'm a physician. I don't care. Then they have lots of evidence right there. So there's nothing in that evidence that points to any of that group of agents knowing anything about policing. So that means they were not to engage American citizens at all. Period. They should have stayed away from that and only focused on illegals. And the moment they know that a person is not an illegal alien, disengage. That's what they're supposed to do. They're not there to lock you up for smoking crack. They're not there to check it to find out if an American citizen has a weapon in the car. They're not there to police. They're not there to do none of that. They're not there to lock you up for smoking weed. They're not there to do anything. They're not there to do that. So, I mean, you know, it's not going to go over well. Like, I'm not sure if the guy will get convicted of first-degree murder. He might get convicted of something like involuntary manslaughter or some shit like that, or second degree. Who knows? But that guy is definitely going to get some jail time. That's my view of it. But in any case,
refrain from making any judgment until that investigation is complete. And again, it's not just important. It's important for the credibility of the agency, which is so critical for the agency's ability to operate.
But look. Also, he's supposed to be an agent of the people, so you know that's the other thing that they carry. So the bottom line is like this: you done fucked up because nobody wants you around anymore, especially now. So how does that help your job? How does that help your job when you do this? How does that help ICE when you do this? It doesn't. It doesn't at all. It actually makes it very, very difficult for them. So I don't know why they have these kind of like loose cannons out there, but dude seemed like a loose cannon to me. So,
but again, at this point, I mean, I was just very surprised to see him speak so conclusively. And I'll just say one other thing: to say that we need to wait. I mean, Tom Homan. I saw an interview with Tom Homan where he said I cannot make a judgment at this point because the investigation is not complete. And Tom was 100% right about that. But to say that if you say you have questions or we need to wait for the investigation, that somehow you support open borders or that you are
exactly, and that's exactly what you see in the chat. You support open borders. It's like, no, I just don't support ICE engaging American citizens at all for any reason. I don't do that. You see what I'm saying? So, and I also don't believe I should be shooting a gun in the same direction that my colleague is standing or bystanders. You know, I believe that just shows a lack of concern for human life in general. You see, but yeah.
You know, inciting violence.
But let's get to the
I would say
witness.
It's like having another.
You know, there was a witness who was there. There's several witnesses, but we've heard a few in the last 24 hours. Right, it's been a lot of witnesses. You know, and thank God for that. But let's see what the next one says here. There's a new one that was like 12 hours ago, 8 hours ago, maybe.
Street where the shooting happened, and she filmed video that we have here just now to share with you out front. It shows the chaos immediately after.
Exactly. He don't have immunity, Chris. What the hell they talking? J.D. Vance is a flat-out liar.
Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed by that ICE agent in Minneapolis hours ago. We're going to play it for you. I do want to warn you that it is graphic.
Can I go check a pulse?
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician!
I don't understand.
So the guy that shot her ran over to the vehicle after he shot her, saw her laying in the car, and left the vehicle without trying to give her life-saving help. Is that what you're trained to do? I mean, you tell me. Is that what they're trained to do? I mean, I already know the answer is no. You see what I mean? Like, get out of here. What are you talking about? You think a federal agent is not supposed to know CPR, is not to know how to put pressure on a wound, not to know how to do anything like, you know, come on. You know what I mean? The dude left after he shot her in the head. What the fuck is up with that? That's bullshit. That shows you the man doesn't care. That's what that shows you. He might care now that he's under scrutiny, but, you know, he didn't care before. You see what I mean? Now that he's under scrutiny, he probably cares a whole lot. But before that scrutiny, he didn't care at all.
We got EMS coming, and I get it. Just give us a second. We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they? How can I relax? You just
So he said we have our own medics. That after they refused the guy, then they were like, where are the medics? And they were like, we have our own medics. I mean, listen to this. They didn't have their own medics. Their own medics weren't there. The guy's a physician, and they refused it.
Go now.
I'm a physician.
Hey, listen, we understand. We got EMS coming, and I get it. Just give us a second. We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they?
I mean, they lied. They lied. They lied to the public. They lied to the taxpayers. They lied to the people that pay their salaries. And they did it easily with no problem, just like it was nothing.
Relax, you just killed my neighbor. You caught butter in the face. You killed my neighbor. How do you show up to work every day? How the do you do this every day? You're killing my neighbors. You're stealing my neighbors. What the man?
Emily Heller is out front now, who you heard there and filmed that in that horrifically traumatic moment. So, Emily, I know you live there. This is your street. This is your home. And you're inside your house. You hear all of this commotion. Everything is starting to happen. Okay, can you tell me what happened then? You hear everything. You come outside, and then what?
I hadn't even gotten dressed. I was making breakfast. I went out. I heard the commotion. I heard whistles, which is a common sign of ice is nearby. And I went out onto my front porch. I didn't even have shoes on. And within 60 seconds, everything had already gone down. But there was an ICE convoy that seemed to be stuck, and then there was a protester who was blocking traffic, so they couldn't progress. And she was totally peaceful, and ICE, it seemed completely unorganized. They didn't really know what they were doing. They were screaming at her to move, move, move. And then they approached her vehicle aggressively and tried to open her door. And then that's when she got spooked.
So there it is. They were telling her, move, move, move. The ones on the other side, move, move, move. And then the other ones came suddenly and were trying to open up her door.
And she reversed her vehicle to...
Now, let me just see exactly, it's important to see what she's saying. She says...
They didn't really know what they were doing. They were screaming at her to move, move, move.
See? Move, move, move. And she says, then she started reversing her vehicle. So, here we go.
They didn't really know what they were doing. They were screaming at her to move, move, move. And then they approached her vehicle aggressively and grabbed.
You see that? Then the guy, you see? So she was in the process of moving. Move, move, move. She was in the process of moving. And then this guy grabs the door. Not only grabs the door, he's just walking up to her, screaming and calling her a bitch. You see? So, It
to open her door, and then that's.
And the dude is not even standing in front of the car. Look at this. When he shot, he may have shot in the front window, but he wasn't standing in front of the car. I can tell even by this angle.
And then they approached her vehicle aggressively. And
he was moving out of the way. His goddamn self. Look at this.
Open her door.
Look, you see that? You see, he was moving out of the way. I don't even think he hit her ass. I mean, I'm going to slow this shit down. I'm going to slow this down. Let me see something here. I mean, but personally, I don't really give a damn if she hit his ass, because to me, the bottom line is still like, yo, dude, you did everything wrong. You did everything wrong. So there you have it. I mean, he did nothing right. First thing is you're supposed to de-escalate. That's not what he did. He escalated. So, I mean, secondly, you know how to jump out from in front of a car. You know how to move your ass when a car is coming towards you. Don't you or don't you not? I mean, I know how. What the hell? How the hell the goddamn police officer not going to know how? But I don't know what he's going to say, but to me, it looks very amateurish. It looks like amateur law enforcement time, like a bunch of kids, playing tough, basically.
They were screaming at her to move, move, move. And then they
she started moving.
Approached her vehicle aggressively, tried to open her door.
You see? So the guy shoots right there. Now let me see something. He shoots right there. You see? Pow. Right? So you can still see the smoke in the air. So let me just see if I can make this a little bigger. Right? You see his feet right there? Look at his shit. Look, y'all. He's not in front of the fucking car. He's not in there. He's not in front of the car. The guy shot from the side. He shot from the side. You can see it. Here it is. You know, the guy, it looks like he slipped, but he didn't hit the ground. I didn't see him get hit. Here it is. The body camera footage doesn't show his body. Sorry. I don't know if you realize that. But yeah, body camera doesn't show his body. Look, you can still see the guy right here. You can see him. She's turning away from him. Look. See where his feet are when the fire shot? See, there's no smoke right there. There's no smoke there, right? See? He's standing up. So if she hit him, how is he standing up shooting her? If she hit him in any sort of manner where it was life threatening, he's supposed to be on the ground. Now let me just I'm gonna slow this down a little bit more. I want to see if I can catch this in another spot right here. Let's see. All right, here we go. Let's see what that does.
Get her to move. And then they
see, she's backing up right there because you see that? You see that? She's moving before he even puts his hand on the door.
move. And then they approached her vehicle aggressively, grab.
He's trying to get her out of the car, and he knows that she's leaving. That's what's going on there. And look at the guy standing. Look at him. Look. He's already got his hand on his gun. Can you see that? He's already got his fucking hand on his gun. So they're lying. They lying about the shit. They're lying. Not that I'm surprised, but they are lying. I mean, you know, it is right here. The dude is caught, and they know this already. Trust me. They can see exactly what we're seeing. There's no need to try to make this shit into something where he hit the ground and spun around in circles and was like, my leg is broke. No, that's not what's going on here. That's not going on at all. Look, he has his hand on his gun. He has his hands on his gun. She has not made contact. It's very simple. She has not made contact with him right here. So let me just make this a little bigger. Damn, I didn't even think I would even see this really. I mean, I had an inclination of it, but damn, it's actually, I'm glad I slowed it down. Hold on, let me see if I can make it a little bigger. See if I can make it a little bigger. Look at this, y'all. Look, see? You see that? And her wheel is turned. He is standing there. She's already started moving the car. He has his hand on his gun.
Approached her.
And you already know it. Look, she's backing up.
Grab.
See? See? He's following her. He's moving with the car backwards. He's moving with the fucking car backwards with his hand on his gun. That's what he's literally doing. And you saw it. Just like I saw it. Just right there. That's exactly what you saw. And you didn't see anything else. You didn't see anything else. This man is following her car while she is driving backwards with his hand on his gun.
Move.
She's moving. See? She's already started moving before he put his hand on the car.
Then they approached
The
her
guy is following her. That's why you can't see him. Look.
aggressively.
Look, see this dude right there? You see? Hit now, look.
Grab.
See? See? So he's standing in front of the car. You know what this guy did? He shot this woman so she wouldn't be able to leave. That's what he did. That's what he did. That's exactly what he did. She didn't hit him. He has his gun out before.
Vehicle aggressively grab.
There's his gun. Look, look. She's going backwards when he grabs his gun.
Her vehicle aggressively grab.
You see that? She is moving backwards when he grabs his goddamn gun.
Tried to.
No. Actually,
open her door.
Look, you see? There's the POW. You see his feet are on the ground. He's not in front of the car. He is not in front of that car. He's not. The car didn't even hit him. The car didn't hit him. The car did. Yo, this is weird. Look at this.
They grab. Tried to open her door.
He didn't. He didn't get hit. He's not hit by the car. So, I don't understand what, and the body camera doesn't show him getting hit either. So, but in any case, that's one angle. There's other angles now. Don't get it twisted. But again, I've seen all the angles. So I'm just giving you a heads up and a warning. And this is the only place where you've seen it show, this video footage shown down and slowed down in such detail also. So what you saw here is something new. And I want everybody to timestamp this. You don't need to, you could clip it out. You could send it to other people, but you saw exactly what I saw. And you haven't seen a car hit this guy. And you haven't had a witness outside of the police say that they saw a man get hit by the car. So, yeah. There it is. Now let's watch it one more time for the hard-headed people. Here we go.
And then they approached her vehicle.
Yeah, somebody said slowing down cars is not new. Oh, really? Oh, is that right? Oh, I didn't know that. Damn, thanks for letting me know.
Aggressively grab.
You see? Look, she was not even going 1 mile an hour when he had his gun pointed at. She wasn't even barely move. Look at this. Look at this.
Her vehicle aggressively grab. Tried to open her door. And then that's when she got spooked. And she reversed her vehicle to turn her wheels to try to escape. And that's when an ICE agent stepped in front of her vehicle and said, stop. And then, she was already moving. And then point blank shot her through her windshield in the face.
I can't imagine what it was to see that, Emily. The way that you are laying this out, though, I just want to repeat and make sure that I'm clear, and please correct me if I say anything wrong. You're saying that what you saw was disorganized ICE, but then when they tried to get her to stop, she got spooked. She reversed her car to turn her wheels to get away, and that was when the officer stepped in front.
They were telling her to leave. They were telling her to move, and then all of a sudden they seemed like they were trying to get her. So they were telling her to move, and then in a split second they were saying they were trying to get her out of the car. So it was like she was trying to move. Once they were trying to get in her car, she was of course she wanted to leave at that point. They were extremely aggressive. She would
have been scared, obviously. President Trump, as you know, posted a video saying that it's lucky the ICE agent was alive. And I just want to be clear, the ICE agent is walking afterwards, and we know that from anything that he had in the hospital, he's
Hey,
fine,
look,
he's out.
you know what?
But President
You know what? You know what's so interesting about this too is the guy that was holding her car door. He slips. Also, look at him. Look at this shit. It's like he actually slips himself. The dude that's holding the door. Let me play it back.
live, and I just want to be clear, the ICE agent is walking afterwards, and we know that.
You see that? You see that? Both of them slipped. Both of them slipped. I mean, because you can clearly see, did any car hit the guy that was holding her door? No, but he was like, whoop, you know? Yeah. So, but in any case, you know, listen, you could try to pretend like you pull your gun out and you shoot somebody and you're shooting. Look at this. Here's another thing. Look at where he's standing, right? This is the other thing to examine here. Look at where he's standing here. Let me blow this back up. All right, so people can see. Now, when he pulls his gun out, right? Watch this.
I just want to be clear, the ICE agent.
There, look at that. Right there, right? The direction that he's pointing his gun in.
He posted a video saying that it's lucky the ICE agent was alive, and I just want to be clear, the ICE agent.
There, right there. See, you can see the direction he's pointing his gun. Look, the woman, if he hadn't shot her point blank range, he is aiming his gun in the same direction, right? Look at this. Where there's other people, there's other pedestrians. You know, there's people behind her car, right? This is one of the people. And then there was also people on the sidewalk, right, on this side of the sidewalk. And so he's not, and he shot, I don't know how many times, but there's people also on the whole sidewalk. There's loads of people there watching with cameras, with video cameras, trying to make sure they record what's going on. And he didn't have any thought about pulling that weapon out. You know, he had no thought about it. Look, he had no thought about it whatsoever. That's just one person. There's people all behind there on the sidewalk, you know, and, you know, it's just reckless. It's reckless. And this is what you get when you're reckless. I mean, he may say that he didn't mean to do it. And, oh, you know, that's what I was trying to say. Regret sits in afterwards and la, la, la. But the reality is that his training is what caused this, you know, poor training.
Is walking afterwards, and we know that from anything that he had in the hospital, he's fine and he's out. But President Trump posted.
Stood there.
I mean, that's my view of it. That's my view.
What he did afterwards.
Oh, he just stood there. The other ICE agents surrounded him. He was obviously spooked too. I mean, they seem like children. They seem like untrained.
Looking for proven durability.
Oh, she's saying they seem like they were untrained? Damn. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I mean, they look untrained to me too. Or they just look like they didn't know what the hell they were doing, to be honest. It looked like, but it always looks like that to me, because anytime you go to a place and then you end up stopping people that you didn't even intend on stopping, like you're just randomly grabbing anybody who's just around, something is liable to go wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's more likely something goes wrong that way with this random stuff going after people. And that, you know, they knew, in this case, they even knew that she was a citizen. They knew who she was. So they shouldn't have even engaged her, you know? You have to be the bigger, to be a police officer and carry a weapon, right? You have to be able to ignore people that might even be saying rude things to you. You got to be able to do that. And that's called being professional, you know? And if you start engaging people just because they said something like, listen here, fat boy, and you get angry and you grab your gun, no, that's not professional.
So that agent was obviously spooked because he had just killed someone, and it was very obvious to everyone who had witnessed it all that she would not make it. And so they kind of gathered around him, and then there was a gold SUV that came, and they put him in it and got him out of there because everyone knew he had murdered someone.
So President Trump says the woman was disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ice.
She died because she called him fat. She called his coworker fat, so she had to die. You know what I'm saying? Or one of the women did that. It wasn't even the woman that got killed. It was her wife. That said that. She didn't say anything. What the woman said was that I'm not mad at you. That's what she said. That was her last words. The woman that got killed. I'm not mad at you.
Officer who seems to have shot her in self-defense. He shared a video of the incident from a different angle.
Yeah, that was Trump. Trump says he seems to have done it in self-defense, you know. But he's the guy that said, you know, he doesn't care. You know what I mean? He wants police to shoot people, basically. You know, he wants people to be hard, bang them in the head when you get them. When you get them apprehended, you know, make sure when you put them in the car, you bang their head up on the car. This is Trump for you.
What's your response to that version of events?
I mean, that's the only reason why I'm here. I don't think I'm the most articulate person. I don't think that I don't want to be here, but I knew that this would be twisted and it would be self-defense, and that's absolutely not what happened. But it's just my life is forever changed from having witnessed this, and I just can't let this narrative that it was self-defense go any further, because it's absolutely not what it was. And yeah, my neighborhood, my neighbors, we're all going to be pretty traumatized from this for a long time.
When in that video that you shared with us that I just played, the 34 seconds, you know, you're obviously incredibly distraught, and there's a doctor next to you or near you. We can, you know, hear him saying, "I'm a physician. I can help," and they say, "No, we have our own medics." But the doctor is there offering to administer CPR, standing right there. I don't want you to have to relive what you were looking at when the horror of her death, but how did agents respond to him? Was there a speed and a desperation in trying to get any sort of assistance to her? Because it didn't sound like that from what you gave us.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him near, and they said they had their own medics that were on their way, which it was, I mean, I don't know, it was at least 15 minutes before the ambulance arrived, and then the ambulance couldn't even get through because the ICE agents had all abandoned their vehicles in the road, so the ambulance couldn't get through.
So the physician was there,
and about 5.
The physician was there asking, can he check her? They said, no, we have our own doctors. He said, I'm a physician. They were like, I don't care. 15 minutes. It took 15 minutes for an ambulance to actually get to them from that point on. I mean, again, you know, I'm sorry, but you can, as a police officer, you know that every engagement you get in, it's not personal for you. You know, you don't have personal resentment or personal hatred towards the people. You know, even Homeland Security or even ICE to be professional is to hold nothing personal against the individuals you're making contact with. That's what it is to be professional. It's not something personal. You don't harbor hatred or have a grudge against them. You see what I mean? It's just a thing about the law, right? And how you approach them is according to the law and according to your training, right? But it appears here that there is a whole lot of animosity, you know, and don't get me wrong, I'm saying it from the officer to be a professional. You know that, for example, when her wife was like, I think you better go on with your business, big guy, or something like that. That's obviously not something that would draw anger out of a professional, right? Because you have a weapon in your hand where you can kill and murder anyone at any time you get angry. So your training is the opposite. Your training is to see, most situations, for one, where you don't even have to put your hand on a gun. That was a situation where a gun wasn't needed, for example. Right? Hold on. Let me see this. I see some. Yeah, there we go. For example, right? And in fact, why even approach her, man? Because they walked around. Somebody was looking at her tag and all of this stuff. I'm like, why don't you? And that's the person that was looking at the tag. That's the police. That's the other police officer that I was talking about that was behind the car, also in the line of fire. You know what I mean? So, and he's moving around. Like, the guy is moving around. So it's a lot of hazards over there in the direction that he fired, you know. Luckily, I mean, not luckily, but he was so close that it didn't hit any of them. But had he look, he got hit by a car. If that was the concern, had he had his gun out and got hit, his arm could go up and shoot somebody. His arm could go in another direction to shoot somebody. How did he have so much control if the car hit him with any impact? You know, and they're going to ask all these questions in a court under a prosecutor. And I'm just telling you, how do you aim straight? And you're claiming, right? What you're doing is your job. You're aiming straight. But how do you do that if you get hit by the car? Like, if a car hits you, could your arm move in a different direction? You know, could you hurt somebody else? Could your shooting be inaccurate if you get hit by the car? This guy fired 4 times. 4 times. Did you just fire out of chaos, or did you aim and fire each time well? Because if you aimed and fired each time well, how the hell did you get hit by a car? I'm just saying. I mean, to me, it just doesn't sound right. It sounds like the dude is exaggerating. That's what it sounds like to me.
Paramedics came in and examined.
Do me a favor, click the like button, y'all. It helps more people find the stream. I appreciate that.
Her for, I didn't see this, but they were with her for a few minutes, and then they carried her limp body away by her limbs, not even on a stretcher. Just carried her down to the end of the block where they could get a stretcher because they couldn't get through with their ambulance.
Emily, I appreciate your talking about this. I know it has to be incredibly difficult, and I think everyone understands why you're choosing to do it, to make sure people understand exactly what it is that you saw and documented, and I appreciate your being willing to do it.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Joey, you heard what Emily had to say, and you know, she said, I don't want to be here, but I'm here because I want everyone to know what I saw, and she's very clear about what she saw.
Listen, it's got to be a very traumatic experience. What I'm concerned about, though, is the nature of the investigation. Let's be clear that there are going to be, of course, local officials investigating this, Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, in addition to the federal government. In the event that there's anything federal here, of course, then Trump would have the power to pardon. We're not there yet. There's not been a prosecution. There's not been an indictment.
He's talking about a federal prosecution. Trump can pardon, but he can't pardon a state prosecution.
Been a criminal charge levied. However, in the event that it goes that way, I think it's very important that the community gets a sense of fairness, a sense of justice. And in the event that it is federal, of course, there would be, according to Trump and what he put out already, he's judged that there's nothing to see here. And so if the locals get it, what will they do? Will they move forward? And if they move forward, what will that look like? They're going
to move forward. The locals are going to move forward, trust me.
Look like a actual prosecution, and what would be the prosecution here? Criminal negligence, intent? We'll see.
Gil, I'm curious. Emily was talking about, there's that physician, and I understand that in the moment like this, right? There's the most important thing about this country is a country of rules and laws, and if they're not upheld in one horrific part of something, doesn't mean that they should also be dropped in another. In that context, even with that said, though, when the physician says, "I can help," and he's right there, and maybe at that point it appears to everybody she's dead, but to take 15 minutes for someone to get there and to not allow someone who might be able to administer CPR, that just on a human level, that's really hard to hear.
Well, if you do have paramedics that are trained, and I believe ICE and CBP, Customs and Border Protection, has people that are trained, and they're right there, that can be a help. I think you're always going to be, as a law enforcement officer, maybe a little suspicious of the person that said, "Wait, I'm a doctor, I'm a physician, I can help," etc. I mean, I think they could have been handled much better. But
No. This is bullshit. Listen, the other video camera, there's a woman there. Soon as the guy leaves, soon as the guy that shoots her, when she crashes into the car, he runs over to the car. When he leaves the car, there's already a woman that ran up there and was in the car. And the woman, I believe, was talking to her. She communicated to her before she died, you know? So this kind of thing about, I don't understand, you know, the ICE, they refused the other guy, but there was already a woman that already was there. She wasn't a doctor though. You see what I'm saying? So this whole thing about we're suspicious about who we let around. Nah, that's bullshit, man. They refused a person who said they were a physician. They allowed the person that wasn't, basically, that was there already. So this is just, you know, they didn't do their job. They weren't organized. They didn't have control over the scene and what is going on. It's all bullshit. But in any case, let's go to the next one here because there is more. Let's see here. Let's see the ICE footage.
We have some breaking news now out of Minneapolis. Right now, we are getting a new look at the ICE-involved shooting that killed a 37-year-old woman in an SUV, Renee Good. The video appears to be from the perspective of one of the ICE agents. Let's take.
Oh, you absolutely right. Yo. I mean, they say the window was open though, but who said that? I heard 2 shots, but I saw 1 hole. Shit. But they say he shot 4 times, and apparently the other 2 shots went through the window. You see what I mean? So how do you? My bottom line is that I just really think it's difficult to try to have this idea where you say you're shooting your gun, but you get hit with the car at the same time, and your posture is in good shooting, like. You know, you don't have to keep shooting if you get hit by a car. Come on, dude. Like, no one's telling you have to keep going. You know what I'm saying? But in this case, this dude kept shooting. Like, he shot 4 goddamn times. And he shot 4 damn times in the direction of other people, you know? So if he missed one, he could have easily shot someone else, is what I'm saying. And they're even saying it in the news. He could have shot actually one of his colleagues, because his colleague was standing on the other side of that car too. You know what I mean? There was one woman that was the wife that was there. There was the police officer that was in the back of the car too, standing behind it. And then on the sidewalk, there were people all standing there with their cameras and shit like that. And the guy shot in the direction 4 times. Like, that just, I'm sorry, but that is not professional. That's not professional.
Take a look.
Okay, hold on. Let me reposition this. I got to take my camera off real quick because I want everybody to see this, by the way, just so we get a good look at this, at what's going on. Let me just set it up. I think this is about right? Here we go. All right, so let's go.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former.
You see? Stop. You see right there? You see? Look, see, there's people on the sidewalk. That's what I was saying. So there's this woman there. She's talking to another cop who's there, who has her license plate, so they can find her later, right? They can, and they already know who she is.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. Now
you see, there's people there, but there's also people all the way on this other side to the right of this camera, and there's also another officer behind the van there.
You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead. Out of the car.
So she said, get some, what is it? You get yourself some lunch, big boy. Okay.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Okay, so this is the moment that people say that he got hit. But you don't see him get hit. That's not what you see. And like I pointed out before, the guy who was holding the door, he slipped. You know, to me, it looked like they both slipped, you know, like they both realizing, okay, oh shit, you know. But here, let's watch it again. See, look, you can even see she's turning. You can even see she's turning. And listen, this guy has a cell phone in his hand while he's shooting. Do you understand that's what's going on? Is that, you said he dropped the cell phone? No, he didn't. He did not drop that cell phone. He had that cell phone in his hand. Are you out of your mind? You just saw that. That cell phone didn't drop. He had that cell phone in his hand. And he was shooting with the other hand. That's what's going on here. Look, and you can see her even turn the steering wheel away from the guy. Look at this. Look. I'm just saying, look, it's better to just be look, I could tell you flat off the bat, I don't give a fuck about ICE. But when it comes to things like this, I don't believe in making up things or lying. I just believe in seeing what it is and recognizing what is there in front of my eyes. I don't care who it is. You can't win the other way. You can't win the other way. You can't it's just not even necessary to go to because listen, this whole thing is like, you got to remember, Trump purposely is sending these people out to states that did not support him. So this is political violence in itself, right? But now that we're going to slow it down, you just take a look at it. She's turning that wheel. She is turning that wheel away from the guy. And you just saw that. You saw that. Yes, you did. You saw it. And if you didn't see it, you're a lying ass motherfucker. Let's watch it again. And you're a phony. Let's watch it again. Wheel turning. You don't see him hit the ground. You saw him put his phone down to the side and pull his gun out. So he was videotaping with his left hand, and he had his hand on his holster, and he pulled his right hand up and shot while his phone in the left hand went down. That's what the guy did. And if you think it's something else, okay. Now I'm gonna show this part 1,000,000 times because this is what the money shot right here. And it's like, a lot of you maggots like to make up shit to kill any goddamn liberal. And I'm just gonna tell you, it's gonna come back to you. You know, like really, like, you know, the only reason liberals are smarter, you know what I mean? Because we know some of you bitch asses are goddamn Russian trolls and shit that want to make a civil war in the U.S. So we're not goddamn stupid. We patient. But let me tell you, anybody that's a real human being that's out here is like, they should want to stop right now this bullshit that they on, like straight up. So let's peep it. This is political violence. Trump sent ICE to states that did not vote for him. That's what's going on in the first place. She backed up the car, and she did back up the car. And the guy came over to her car and was following her ass while she was backing up. I mean, it's like, so it's like, I mean, come on. Why are you trying to be in front of her car? What the fuck is going on? But the point is that they told her to leave. So, but in any case, look. She's turning the wheel. She turned the wheel. She's turning the wheel away from the guy before he even shot. So he witnessed her turning the wheel. If he's looking at her head, if he's looking at what he's shooting at, if he's looking at what he's aiming at, he's watching her turn the wheel away from him. That's what she did. Here it is again. Let's play it again. Turning the wheel. That's what that is. There's no gunshot yet. No gunshot yet. She wasn't backing up. She was turning the wheel. She was turning the wheel away from the guy. That's what you saw. That's exactly what you saw. And for those of you that don't know, she did back up, but that wasn't right then. You see, that wasn't back then. That wasn't back then. You know, she backed up before that, you know, and that's when the guy put his hand on her door, and then she pulled off, she turned the wheel and pulled off. That's what happened. And I'm going to tell you something, you know, in the court, they're not going to miss none of this shit. And you're not going to be able to make believe it and just, you know, see whatever you want to see. The woman, it doesn't matter what you want to believe. You saw the woman turn the wheel away from the guy and pull off. That's what you saw. So, you know, your pettiness won't help. You know. Now, I agree. The woman, she was not smart, because she thought that, you know, she could give, what do you call it? She could be one of the few people that aren't afraid of ICE. You know, she thought that because of her skin color, I think that, or that she's a woman, that somehow, and she's a citizen, that somehow they wouldn't brutalize and murder her ass also. You know, see me, I don't think that way. You know, I already know from the jump that these people are murderers. You see what I'm saying? So I wouldn't have even been sitting up in the goddamn, I wouldn't have even stopped. You see what I mean? I wouldn't have even stopped. I wouldn't have even been there. I wouldn't have been there. But it's not for a good reason. See, me not being there in this situation right here is because I know they will shoot my black ass. You see what I'm saying? Just very simple. You see? So I wouldn't even be there by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, just straight up. But she thought she had privilege, right? And she does have a little bit of privilege. But some of these men hate gay women. I mean, they probably hate the fuck out of her, and they hate liberals. You see what I'm saying? And so this is what you get at the end of it, you know? And I'm aware of that. Now, you know, I it's a lot of things that I avoid. You know, I pick my moments, but this woman obviously wanted to save some people. She thought she could go out there and, you know, stop ICE from harassing local people. Very simple, you know, and everybody's seen this all day long. They've been treating people bad the whole time. And these people are afraid for their community members. And some people step up and some people don't. And she stepped up, and she thought she could make a difference. And these ICE people told her no. Regarding this civil rights, regarding the Constitution, sorry, but we're going to violate your motherfucking rights, and you're not going to do a motherfucking thing about it. That's basically what they showed her. I mean, if you ask me, and I'm already aware of that. You know, I'm already aware of that. I think she made a mistake in thinking that they wouldn't kill her ass too. And they just showed people that, yes, they will. They will kill her ass too. You know what I mean? And it's just so tragic. This is the same thing as Trayvon Martin, you know, having a guy follow him around talking about, I'm scared of you, but I'm going to follow a little boy around. He's scared of the little boy, but he's going to follow the little boy around for 20 minutes, walking in the own neighborhood that the boy lives in. You know what I'm saying? And then gets in a struggle with the boy after following him for 20 minutes. And then, you know, has a justification. I'm scared of the little boy. Now I got to shoot him. This is the same thing. This is the same bullshit. You know, it's the same thing. Everybody knows the story. Everybody knows the story. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, people that have amnesia, people that can't look in the mirror, or people that have, like, you know, just straight up straight up bigoted, maybe can't see it, right? But the facts speak for themselves. You know, the data speaks for itself. I mean, how many black men have been killed just trying to? They say, "You show me your ID." They pull out the ID and then they get shot. I mean, this is the same goddamn America. You know, this is the context. You know, so it is what it is. It does help your skin color sometimes in these situations. Maybe sometimes it helps your gender sometimes, and maybe sometimes the gender don't. It depends on who you're dealing with. But they are really not liking liberals right now. So they are going to try to kill some white people too. And this was, like, in my view, this was the opportunity. Like, you should not be defending other people, lady. I have to kill you now, is what I get out of this. You know, you're a traitor to the race. You're a traitor. You know, you're supposed to be a goddamn white supremacist, lady. Why are you defending these, these other people? This is how I see it. I mean, you can have your own opinion about it, but this is how I see it, But then again, I might change my mind now. Let's see what else is on the tape. Yo, this dude, he fired. I heard 3 shots right there. I mean, he fired off 3 times for sure. Yeah, I don't think she was prepared to die that day, Donnie. Indeed, I don't think she was prepared to die that day. But I'm gonna tell you straight up, I myself would not even slow the car down for their ass. I wouldn't slow it down. They wouldn't even catch me hitting the brakes at all. I wouldn't even be sitting there talking to their ass. You know what I'm saying? Especially in a car, because they love to shoot black men in cars and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they love that one. Give me your ID. He reached for a gun. Nope. They ain't going to get me like that. And, yeah, it's sad. I commend the woman. I commend anybody that's trying to help someone. But I really do think this is the message they're trying to send people. Don't help anyone with their civil rights. I think that is the message. And, it's really pathetic. People need to understand this is the United States of America. This is the America that we know. And the same America that is attacking Greenland, the same America that has no loyalty to its allies, the same America that's going to invade Venezuela and then leave Putin's regime in power and shit. You're like, we can't figure that out. Like, we can't figure out he didn't make a deal with Putin. We know the motherfucker made a deal. You see what I mean? This is the same America. He went in there, made a deal with Putin he got the okay to remove Maduro, but please leave Putin's people in there. And that's exactly what they did, because they're going to be able to keep their jobs and make a little money off the oil also, if any of that happens. It's just a fucking scam. You know what I mean? It's just a goddamn scam. And this is a scam. What we're watching, if you for 1 second begin to think that this was not institutionally created, this whole scenario, if you don't think that this was created, then you just being scammed, because they didn't have to be in Minnesota. We already got the warning that he is only going to weaponize the police against blue states, or law enforcement against blue states. He's already sent this idea out there that somehow liberals are the problem with the country. You see what I mean? Immigrants are the problem with the country also, right? He's already sent that message out there, even though they can't give you no data on any immigrants, even though they started with immigrants and now they're going in, violating American citizens' Fourth Amendment rights and shit like that. Even though they deported a goddamn American. I mean, even though all of this shit, none of that shit matters to them. But we know the scam, because while they're doing this, the whole deal is that they want to own the country, and they want Americans to feel like it's not our country. We pay the taxes. They work for us. They don't want us to feel that way. They don't want us to feel like we're the owners. So they have to oppress us. They have to make us feel like we're not deserving as every other citizen from a Western fucking country. And we goddamn are, we are. And Americans, 1/3 of the population didn't even vote in this last election. So don't give me that bullshit about Trump, is some sort of, Democratic figure. Yeah. Okay. The majority of Americans did not vote for Trump, period. Okay. That's just what it is. And, a lot of you that didn't vote, now you know what you got. So I hope you get out there and you vote again, because if you don't, you're going to get more of the same. JD Vance is waiting in the lines. Let's see this one. Your windows. I'm almost out of here, yo. Let me see something. Let me just get a few other points off here. I appreciate everybody coming out. Click the like button if you don't mind for me. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel. Hit the button the bell, so you get the impromptu signals and notifications when I decide to go live, because it could change depending on the exact day. But usually it's the same time, but then maybe I might do double streams in one day. I could do 3. You never know. Let's hear this.
Yeah.
What's this all about? Okay, this is CNN. Hold on, let me speed this back up too. I appreciate everybody for coming out.
Back now with our breaking news on the deadly ICE shooting in Minneapolis. Moments ago, CNN obtained video from an ICE officer's cell phone that captures the confrontation with Renee Good that preceded, at least in part, her shooting. A DHS official confirms the video was recorded on the agent's cell phone camera.
All right, I'm going to fast forward
Josh,
to the guest.
take us through this.
Well, this is a critical new angle. This was the actual vantage point of the officer. And we know that not many immigration officers actually wear body-worn cameras. But in this instance, the immigration agent was holding his phone up, essentially filming this encounter, which we can now see in this video obtained by our colleague Holmes Librand. So in the video, you see that the officers are making contact with Renee Good there. She's parked somewhat perpendicular in a street. And there's another woman that's there, which is outside the vehicle. And you can tell, as the exchange there with Renee Good, that, she's being somewhat pleasant. The other woman is, kind of mouthy. And, this is obviously a bit tense. She, tells the agent at one point, why don't you go get some lunch, big boy. You also see critically, and I'll get to this in a second, bystanders behind the vehicle. We've seen other angles. This one shows us, again, the vantage point of that officer. Another agent orders Renee Good out of the vehicle. This agent then walks around. That is the moment that she then takes off. And on that audio, what we hear, it appears that you can actually hear friction on the phone. It appears from other angles that the agent was indeed struck by that vehicle. But you hear on the audio, it appears friction on the phone. That could be from the vehicle strike. That could be from, the phone on his clothing. But then it appears 3 shots were fired after that. And then you hear afterwards, someone, it appears maybe an immigration agent who was there, actually, used profanity, calling her an effing B, which we heard on the audio there. Now let's talk about the tactics for a second. So, I can tell you this as a former federal agent.
Now let me stop it right here. Let's do a little game. Now he said that it appears that from the other camera angle that maybe the guy was hit, right? That's the same thing I also thought too. But I'm starting to think it was that he slipped, because I saw the guy with his hand on the door. He also slipped, and they kind of made similar motions. But I also paid close attention to the guy's feet. And I'm sorry, even if the guy was hit, he did not fall. At the very best, he slipped. And if he was hit with any real impact, he would not be firing off 3-4 goddamn shots. That just doesn't make sense in that short time and like that. So it just don't make sense. And there's nothing about it that makes sense. But in any case, here's the game part. How many of you agree with this guy? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with him that it appears the law enforcement agent was hit. Put a 1 in the chat if you think it appears that he was hit. Oh, what is this? Nobody's in the chat now? It's loads of people. Yo, did you all hear me? Put a 1 in the chat. Come on now. Before I put this shit in subscriber mode or something. Yo, did everybody subscribe to? Because yeah. Now listen, just Terry, you're not listening, Terry. Put a 1 in the chat, please. That's what's happening right now, is the 1. Okay, all the comments and all of that, is difficult. If you're someone who believes he was hit by her, put a 1 in the chat. That's it. That's what I want to see. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Terry. Let me see here. Okay, let me just see how. Come on now. It's no more people that think that. That's 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2. Hold on. Somebody wrote twice. Okay. No. That's Carla. Okay, 14 got Terry. It's only 2 people? Oh, 45 Roni. Okay, you also. Okay, I see you. Okay, 45 Roni. Carly. Terry. Anybody else? Okay, well, so here's the game part. Now, to the people that felt that she got hit, right? That means you take his position on this topic, on that particular on that particular aspect. Now, let me know if you believe him on anything else that he says. Watch.
That law enforcement officers can use deadly force only when necessary, when they believe that there is an imminent threat to their life. In this instance, you have a moving vehicle that's coming at that agent. Now, the driver, Renee Good, did turn the wheel to the right, so it appears that she wasn't, coming head on at that agent.
Do you agree with that? The people, okay, Ronnie, I hear you. The people that believe she got hit by the guy, right? This is what he said. It appears he was maybe hit. Now, do you believe what he just said right there? Do you believe what he just said right there? He said she was turning the wheel away from the guy. Do you believe him on that, or do you not? I'm just curious. Huh? Do you believe it? Yeah, I'm curious about that one. It's not See, it's a little game, because what I found is that a lot of times people, they're not being bipartisan. A lot of times people aren't being bipartisan, I'm saying it depends on what they want the outcome to be. So you don't agree with him, or you agree with him, or do you agree with him? So you agree with him that what he just said right here. If you don't agree, you put a 2. If you agree, you put a 1.
Life. In this instance, you have a moving vehicle that's coming at that agent. Now, the driver, Renee Good, did turn the wheel to the right.
Did she turn the wheel to the right? Do you agree with that? Okay. See, that's the thing that I'm curious about there.
It appears that she wasn't, coming head on at that agent.
So it appears she wasn't coming head on at that agent.
Trying to mow him over.
Or trying to mow him over.
But nevertheless, an agent in that split second, decision would have to make that calculation. Am I in danger? Is my life threatened here? Agents are also taught, what are other options? Could you move out of the way? And that's why this has been such a contentious issue here. The judgment, the decision of that agent to actually open fire.
That don't make no damn sense. If she didn't pull that car away, she would be alive today. Excuse me. You're not allowed to shoot somebody to stop them from fleeing. Are you out of your mind? Do you understand you would go to jail for murder? Police officers are not allowed to shoot people to stop them from fleeing. You're crazy. You're not allowed to shoot at a car to stop someone from fleeing. Now, if you thought your life was in danger, that's one thing, but you can't shoot at them to stop them from fleeing. That's different.
For obviously people supporting that decision, others being quite critical. One other thing I want to note is that when agents undergo training, and not just the feds, but law enforcement across the country, it is a cardinal rule that you are responsible for every round that you fire. And one key component of that is, to the extent that you have the time and you must be aware of what is beyond your shot.
What is beyond your shot? Do you think the guy took the time to be aware of what was beyond his shot?
Is in the background. Here, it appears from that video that this other woman who had been engaging with the agent was quite clearly in the line of fire, but there were also other people that were standing behind that car on the sidewalk, and this is a residential area. And so I'm sure that will face some scrutiny as well. The officer opening fire at that moment, directly, it appears towards those other people beyond the shot. And then his partners, and you brought this up, Brianna, just the other day, his partners are there in close range as well.
His
and so
partners
this will be
are there.
heavily scrutinized from a tactical.
His partners are there also. So listen, that's what I'm saying. The guy's a loose cannon. He was going to pull the trigger on somebody. That's the point. You never been somewhere where you have one person in your crew. Excuse me. I know this sounds strange to say, but let's just say you in a gang. You got different kinds of people in a gang. Everybody's not trigger happy in a gang. Some people are the intellectuals. Some people are the, whatever they do. But there's one dude. You know what I mean? If you're involved in some real crime, usually there's one of them that is trigger happy. You see what I mean? This reminds me of that too. Like, this guy was going to be the guy that shoots somebody. You know what I mean? Like, basically that's how I look at it. Like, he just, he was going to shoot somebody, and he doesn't mind shooting somebody. And, other people mind a little bit more you shooting, you know what I'm saying? And maybe would have, like, the bottom line is the guy didn't hit the ground. So he didn't get hit with any force. And, as we pointed out, he had his gun aimed at her before her car even moved. Yes. Yep. Exactly. So, to me, it seems like he's not going to walk away from this without some state charges, but if he gets murdered, who knows?
Perspective as well.
Maybe he doesn't even get murdered too. Maybe he just gets reckless endangerment or something else. You never know.
Well, about the officer opening fire, but again,
but this is the worst part about it. There's also another aspect. It's not just whether he gets convicted. He will get convicted of something. Don't be stupid. He's definitely getting convicted of something, because he there's a whole lot of messed up things in this clip. But the thing is that the bigger part to consider is that you didn't help ICE. ICE looks real bad right now. And if you think killing that woman helped ICE, okay.
Critical new video here that we're seeing, an important angle, what the officer would have been seeing in the moment.
Yeah, the other officers from the other vantage point having a pronounced sort of physical reaction as the shooting happens as well. It's a tense situation between protesters and federal agents that we have been watching unfold as we speak.
Yeah, so that's essentially the situation here. Let me see what Malcolm Nance says about this real quick. I was just curious about his take on the shooting, And let me see. I also want to do one little quick thing here. Is that playing? Okay, 2 seconds. Come on now.
Assume they are not American citizens and are felons that are lying.
Right. And again, I think about when I'm watching these and I'm watching the video, I'm thinking as a prosecutor, how do I charge this? I'm just in state court. I'm literally saying, okay, that's a 5th degree misdemeanor, but that's actually a felony because now you're using a weapon. So that's a 2nd degree assault. That's a presumptive prison commit. And guess what? You don't have immunity because this is actually outside of what you're allowed to do as part of your job.
To lose his job. Look, either Stephen Miller needs to get into a lane where he knows what he's talking about, or get out of his job. Look,
2 seconds. Sorry about that. I got to make sure that music isn't on there. But this is Malcolm Nance. He has a take on this event, too. Let me see here.
And I'm not going to welcome you to this edition of Black Man Spy. America is in crisis. Our guest this week is Jack Rice. Some of you may know him as a former CIA officer, but more importantly, he is a Minnesota criminal defense attorney. He has spent decades in the legal trenches and is frequently called upon to explain how the system works to media outlets across Minnesota and the planet. I knew him back when he had a podcast and a show as a former CIA officer, but I think it's important.
I mean, it's already one thing that's for sure is it is established. It's going and it will be established that she did turn her steering wheel away from him. That's clearly seeing, so she wasn't attempting to run him over. That you won't be able to prove that. Now, if she grazed him, maybe the road's slippery. The guy who was holding her door slipped too. But the other thing is that the bottom line is that if you're if you're trying to make the claim that she hit him with any force, I don't see how your shooting makes sense, because you can't aim and be shot with force at the same time. So that's a physics thing. You're going to have to explain that. And I don't think you're going to, because people that do these investigations, they prosecute thousands of investigations like that. They're not stupid. They've heard every goddamn story in the book. So, you can think you can get away with it. That's what MAGA is good at, thinking they can get away with it. And often they get often in the police in general, when they've killed American citizens that are unarmed, there is a history of getting away with it, but that history is leaving because people are tired of it,
Important that you listen to what he says this week. I asked some very hard, pertinent questions.
Yeah, he murdered her. That's my belief.
And he actually has given me a glimmer of hope in the aftermath of this horrific murder of Renee Nicole Good.
So listen, Malcolm Nance, he is, let me see here. Let me pull up Malcolm Nance for people to read, and then I'm going to get out of here. I thought this was pretty enlightening. Let me see here. Let me just go over here. I also want to look at the U.S. dollar real quick. You all, gold is up at a 5-year high, in case any of you want to know. It's at a 5-year high now. Is that a 1-year high? Is that a 5-year high? I mean, as soon as Trump became president, I was like, yo, the dollar's going down, so let me buy some gold. And right now it's tripled since I bought it. I bought it earlier this year, some gold. It's tripled already. So let me see here. Just for people to know, yeah. Let me see here. Malcolm Nance. I just want to let you know who's talking here. I've gotten a little better at doing this, making sure, because I enjoy Malcolm Nance's podcast, and I watch it all the time. I mean, he's ex-military. He's a vet, right? But I want to give you his credentials. All right. So once again, Malcolm Nance, he's an American author, but he was born in Philadelphia, right? He's a former United States Navy senior petty officer and specializing in naval cryptology, right? Nance is an intelligence and foreign policy analyst who frequently discusses the history, personalities, and organization of jihad radicalization, Al-Qaeda, and the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, Southwest Asian and African terror groups, as well as counterinsurgency and asymmetric warfare. I don't know if people, a lot of my listeners know what asymmetric means, but yeah, if you don't, just ask or Google it. He has learned Arabic and is active in the field of national security, particularly in anti and counterintelligence or counterterrorism intelligence, terrorists. So you see here, and is active in the field of national security policy, particularly in anti and counterterrorism intelligence, terrorist strategies and tactics, torture, counter ideology, and combating Islamic extremists, right? So he's got several books out, Defeating ISIS, Who Are They, How Do They Fight, What They Believe, The Plot to Hijack America. This was about Trump and Russia and blah, 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 right? These little scandals that came up. Let me see here. And is there, okay, so cryptologist, counterintelligence. Okay, so his military career. As a U.S. Navy specialist, naval cryptologist, Nance was involved in numerous counterterrorism, intelligence, and combat operations. Right, he garnered expertise within his field of intelligence and counterterrorism. Right, he was an instructor in wartime and peacetime. Right, and more. He served in the Foreign Legion in Ukraine. Right, and so he has a long record. Just so people know whose program this is, and check them out. So, let's hear the perspective now.
Say her name. So let's hear.
Sorry about that. I got to take care of that today, man. These damn random commercials. I need to get rid of them all.
What Jack Rice has to say. Jack Rice, welcome to Black Man Spy. I'm always glad to see a former professional come on here, and but at this critical time, I think it's very important that we talk about the civil affairs that are happening in the United States. Can you tell us, I know you're from Minnesota, so can you give us a feel for what the situation on the ground is like in Minnesota this week?
Oh, Malcolm, first of all, thank you for having me on the program. I haven't seen you in some time.
Yeah.
It's always, I'm thrilled to be with you, regardless of that. But talking about Minnesota, it's a very,
What's up,
it's
Mike?
a very surreal place right now because it's not just about what happened with ICE and what's happening with ICE right now. It's about something far bigger than that, because I think we're still reconciling George Floyd. And so you realize this is actually something that is reaching back, not just the last couple of days or the last couple of weeks or months. It's actually 5 years.
Right.
And so what we have is this very strange space. And it's also somewhat surreal. I mean, and from my perspective, I'm looking at it from a bunch of different angles. You know, yes, I'm a former CIA officer. So as a result, I'm looking sort of internationally and how this impacts this. And there is an international impact to this about credibility and how that works and how we buy in. But I'm also a former prosecutor. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I operate in this town. And so I'm watching how things are working in this town. But then there's the national aspect of this too, which is this idea that ICE is here, in my opinion, not because it's an immigration question. ICE is in Minnesota because of Tim Walz. ICE is here because the president wants to flip Minnesota.
You know, exactly. And so this is illegal. What Trump is doing, it's illegal. You cannot use you can't use the federal government to attack your political rivals. It's just that's in the Constitution. You can't do that. And so the mere fact that he's doing it openly and blatantly, this is what people need to understand. They're aware that these things will happen. They're already aware. If they send out a bunch of untrained people, if they just recruit a whole bunch of people real fast, sloppy, send them out there doing a job that really has never really been done in the United States history, they know people are going to get hurt. You know, they already see this coming. And so that's what they're doing. And now what you have is people trying to, ignorant people trying to explain it like, all she had to do was do this and all you had to do. No, you're not even getting the point. All you had to do was not send ICE and leave the policing up to the police. OK, because the police know how to de-escalate. The police are trained to deal with civilians. These people are not. They're not. They have something like 4 weeks training, something like that, 4 to 6 weeks training. Police have 6 months. 6 months. It's a completely different thing. You see what I mean? So what you're doing is that's like the equivalent of me saying, you know what? Instead of me sending you like some competent people with, that have had job experience and know how to organize and all these things, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to the, jungle. Oh, no, I'm going to go to the ghetto and just grab a whole bunch of teenagers who never had a job in their life, have no education and just throw them over to you and say, go do the job. You know what I'm saying? It's like they know that they're doing that. They know that they're throwing inexperienced people that are not even supposed to be engaging. They're not supposed to be engaging the citizens. They're not supposed to be. They're not supposed to be doing policing. So they should not have engaged that woman once they found out she was an American citizen. That's the whole point. That's the whole point, and you need to know how to de-escalate too, because after all, what crime are you stopping her for? Do you even know what the crime is? Why are you telling her to get out of her car? What is the crime? What is the actual crime? Secondly, they need to learn how to call the goddamn police if somebody's bothering them. That's what they were supposed to do. Call the fucking police. You see what I mean? The police know what to do. You see? But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to take the law into their own hands. Well, they're not trained to deal with this. So,
and as a result, this is a lever that's being pushed.
Exactly. It is a lever that's being pushed. I mean, he could have said it better. He couldn't have said it better, And
what makes me particularly disturbed about it is now we have a dead woman. Now we have people in jail. Now we have horrible circumstances. Now we have.
Look, I mean, these are these MAGA people, trolls. Sweet Tooth is going to ignore the experts, going to ignore the prosecutor, going to ignore the counterintelligence person, Just ignore all of them. What the fuck? Nah, I'm telling you, man, it works like this.
They have traumatized children because ICE was just breaking down the front door of a high school, right? And they were pepper spraying people, including kids. And they're fine with it because it's part of the lever. And so we're watching that in the wake of the last 5 years, and it feels oddly reminiscent, but truly and honestly.
Porn addiction turns high IQ men into silent.
What the hell is this, man? All right, let's see. Let's go.
Yeah. Look, I mean, you're a prosecutor, you study law, you live in the vicinity. I'm just going to ask you straight. What did you see when you saw the video? I saw something completely different, I'm sure, but what did you see?
When I watched this, the first thing that I thought about was forensics. For me, it was technical. I actually am breaking down
forensics. That's going to tell you a lot, too. Yeah, exactly. Where are the other bullets? Where are all the bullets at? That's going to tell you the angle of the guy shooting. That's necessary. The bullet holes, the bullets, different things. But go ahead.
Accident reconstruction. I'm literally in my head pulling up top and looking down at this saying, okay, what have we got? What is it? And where's the self-defense? Because remember, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I'm thinking about this. What does this officer do? And I'm thinking about, as a prosecutor, how do I prosecute this if it were whatever it was? So I'm looking at lines of sight. I'm looking at angles of tires. I'm looking at behavior. I'm also thinking about what DOJ policy is. I'm thinking about what ICE policy would be under DOJ. I'm also thinking about how this works in state court versus federal court, and they're actually different. Because remember, think of it like the Derek Chauvin case with George Floyd. They actually prosecuted him in both.
Right.
And the feds step in all the time, and they do this in drug cases and terrorism cases, and you and I have seen this forever. But we also have the state court who can grab onto this. Hence, we have that woman in Colorado that Trump pardoned, and he's angry because the state prosecuted her because she was convicted of a crime. And their response is she violated state law. You don't get to pardon people in states, just federally. So I'm thinking of all of these things at the same time as I'm watching. I know it's a big answer, but in my head, that's how I think about it.
No, and that's the answer that I needed to hear, okay? Because there's a lot of pontificating going on out there. I looked at it from a completely different perspective. I looked at it from a law enforcement use of force perspective. I've trained a lot of law enforcement in counterterrorism, and I full disclosure, and I went through, and when I was in the military, a SWAT officers course that was run by Heckler and Koch submachine guns. And I went through with Capitol Hill Police. They were forming their SWAT teams at that time. And all of our instructors were either ex-military.
I mean, I think people need to listen. This guy has trained Capitol Police. Malcolm Nance is training. So they're having a serious conversation. I wouldn't waste it. I wouldn't waste it because they're coming with some, expert information.
Or Los Angeles County Police SWAT, right? Very highly trained guys. And one of the things they drilled into our head that I would always
exactly, Pam,
have this contradiction with was that these things, all of the use of force that we use must be done and complied with in the law. They were insane about don't draw situations.
Yep. Exactly. What situations do you draw in and what situations do you not draw in? And that looks like a situation you don't draw in. And that's going to almost be textbook. You don't draw in situation for many reasons, that guy, there's something crazy about this, but in any case.
Right. Whereas I was coming in as a military guy and I'm like, we'd throw a hand grenade in there, right? Hostage rescue, we'd frag the room. And they were like, yeah, but this is all, we teach it a baseline here. The baseline is shoot, don't shoot. Shoot within the confines of the law. Don't shoot if you don't have to.
Well,
right?
And guess what? When we have the vice president who says absolute immunity, There is no such thing, not under this circumstance.
Yeah,
right
what
now.
the hell?
Right
Where did that come from? Where did he get into his mind that law enforcement have absolute immunity? Did he think the Supreme Court ruled for him? Or was he actually thinking about what Trump is about to do? Was he giving us an aura of what Trump is going to do, which is mass pardoning?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yep, he's going to do mass pardonings on the federal levels, and that's how he gets his Gestapo together, because if they know they're going to get pardoned, this will get them to act. But this is where states have to come in. And on that note, folks, I'm going to have to be out because it's been close to it's 3.5 hours now. But listen, that's a good point to chime out on this point about what is he planning on doing, pardoning. But it lets you know that, listen, states, people, we need to push our representatives to just fucking impeach Trump, to forego all of this other nonsense that he has in store for people. Trump has a whole list of nonsense in store. And you already know, as long as he's in power, he is going to try to bolster his Gestapo. So people just need to get around it. Now, there's some good news. Look, it could be that Trump, people are going to wait around, and it could be that, he's got this healthcare thing happening. Now, let me ask y'all a question in the chat. How many people, because Congress has now, is it the Congress? Yeah. Is it the Congress or Senate? I think it's the Congress. Yeah. Congress has passed with 17 Republicans. The Democrats have passed a new extension for 3 years on the healthcare subsidies. How many of you agree with that? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree and are happy that Congress passed an extension, a 3-year extension to the healthcare subsidies. Put a 1 in the chat if you are happy about that. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't want that to happen at all. And I don't care what your political party is. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't want that to happen at all. Put a 1 in the chat if you're happy about that. That 17 Republicans and the rest Democrats passed that law, and now it has to go over to the Senate. And if it passes in the Senate, then it's got to go to the president's desk for him to sign. And if it doesn't, then it won't come to be, right? But how many of you want it to be? And how many of you don't? Okay, so what is this guy? The people that don't, why don't you? I mean, look, I hope you got health care too while you saying that. Listen, I already know what the math is. Oh, okay. What's going on? I see y'all having some sort of... Okay, I'm going to take a look. Well, look, let me finish this up and then I'm going to... actually, do me a favor. Let me drop my email in here too, so people know what it is. Or some people. Here you go. Let me see. You know what this is, right? Yo, Bit, send me a message. Donnie, send me a message. All right. So look, send me an email, both of y'all, please, if you don't mind. That way we can chat. But listen, this dynamic, I'm curious because people say, that they don't want it, that they're against it. But are these real people? Do these people have anything at stake? Do they have family members that need health care? Marion, what state do you live in? And, oh, no, that's not Marion. I'm sorry. 1 are people that want it. I'm sorry. Where the 2s at? I saw a bunch of 2s somewhere. Okay. Yeah. SACE Con, right? What state do you live in and who is your health care provider? Victor Morris, what state do you live in and who is your health care provider? Oh, no. Victor Morris put 1. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, Victor. You put 1. Sorry about that. Let me see. Okay. Only 1 person put 2 in the chat. Okay. I see that. Listen. Okay, you traveling till the evening? Okay. Both of y'all, please send me a message, please, over there so we can communicate. But, I'm curious about that. I think it's a good sign, but Trump has to sign it. And in either case, my whole point with this is that, look, how long do people want to drag this shit on? How long do people really want to drag this on? Does it really have to continue to go on? I mean, this guy is a lunatic. You know what I'm saying? And please let's try to respect each other now, everybody. Especially the folks that want to get rid of Trump's ass out of here. But in any case, to me, it just seems like, isn't it just easier to get rid of this dude? I really think what's going to happen is that I think the deal is this. They want to see if Trump is going to sign this bill. Either way, he's out of this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? They're just going to give it time for him to sign this health care bill. And if he doesn't, he's impeached. And if he does, he's impeached. I think that's going to go down like that because, listen, how long do we have to deal with this type of lunacy? This stuff, there's no one who's an expert in anything that co-signs anything that Trump is doing, period. The only people that co-sign Trump are lunatics. It's just that simple. Lunatics with no experience in any goddamn field of anything. That's what's going on here. And the American people are paying for it. So on that note, I'm going to be out. I appreciate everybody for chiming in today. Let's get rid of this asshole. He's too much. And, let's take back our country. Let's add some sanity back into the picture. Healthcare usually makes people healthy. It allows them to stay healthy and keep going to work. Education allows people to get a job, stay out of the streets. If you want to fight crime, how about help people get access to education if you want to fight crime in a capitalistic society? If you want to help people, fight crime, why do you want people thrown out on the street because they can't afford health care or losing their homes because somebody in their family gets sick and they can't afford health care? I mean, what is up with this? If you want to fight crime, then fight poverty, fight economic injustice. If you want to fight crime, you know what I mean? It's not a mystery. Okay, plenty of nations have figured out how to do it. So on that note, I'm going to be out. I'm going to catch up with you all real soon. I appreciate everybody. All right, be good and take care of each other. You know what I'm saying? Take care of each other. Let's not fall for the okie doke right now in 2026. You know what I'm saying? We made it this far. Let's make it all the way. Impeach Trump. Appreciate y'all. Peace. Yeah, we're going to get Josh's ass out of here, y'all. No worries. Peace, everybody. One, I appreciate y'all.
They want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every clue. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death ode? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct. And I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like the lotus artist coming out of the mud with colors. I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't fear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't steer. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. Them diamonds in the morning, then you know they want more. But they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. Them diamonds in the morning, then you know they want more. But they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Can you feel it? Nothing can save ya, cause this is the season of funky behavior. I came to relax your mind, you can recline. On what? On this here rhyme. I like the style, I'm staying for a while. It helps me show cats that I'm versatile. I'll touch your dial, turn your frown to a smile. I'll make you feel like you're having a child. So relax and open up, child. I'm about to make you walk what? Pimp style or pimped out style. You don't understand the logic. See if you don't have it all, I'll take a deposit. I got shit for you, it's alright indeed. It's like going to the garden and planting the seed. It might tickle for a second, but it won't bleed. So just relax, just hear a dope ride. Your vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax, and just hear a dope ride. Your vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Your entertainment, at the same time, edutainment. In other words, you could call it bent. What I'm saying is that I'm here at your service. It's hard work, but then again, I deserve this. I'm helping people enjoy their spare time. I'm like an instructor when I'm doing my rhyme. Relax and just hit the dope track. It's really not all that, it's not like a gag. We like that when everything is relaxed and chill. You don't have to get fucked up or take pills, cause I like being myself, it feels good. Yo, it makes my meals taste good. 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 So just relax. It's your dope ride. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and hear a dope ride. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax. My mind state, now balloon, it won't inflate. Just take the buzz, it's my head, fuck the shade, and take it to a lower level, and dig a ditch for a devil. Got some more kids and pass the shovel. Nigga ho, take them on a spiritual roll. Lyrics unfold, either that or unroll the scroll. Episodes keep reoccurring and stifling people's vision get blurring. Their hearts start murmuring. I'm about 5 times iller than a Sherman. Introspection is God's gift to the miracle. I freak material, lamb's milk without the cereal. When MCs say your booty, they mean venereal. Your fake material hip-hop pillars, they more faking than fucking Michael Jackson and Thriller. The status of a hoe, Quanto Costa. They wanna know how much it costs, kid. I bet for keep to me just relax and just hear and don't cry. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat. Just relax and just hear and don't cry. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat. Just relax.